Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
I understand. Manhwa took a deep breath. His gaze was firm. He understood in his heart that these enemy kingdom soldiers that had experienced the baptism of the battlefield had long ago had thrown away any hopes of living the moment they were captured, and as such, they would attack without mercy. He felt pressured, but even more so, he felt the intent to do battle. Meanwhile, the Iron Blood Army's vice commander looked towards the group of youths that stayed behind before saying, "Very good. You've all not disappointed me. As such, I shall now declare that the Genius Camp test officially begins." As Qiao Qingshan's voice echoed out, a group of Iron Blood Army soldiers walked over quickly, brought along with them a group of bound enemy kingdom soldiers, and stood at a side of the drill grounds. The army of soldiers moved like a large nimbus cloud that enveloped the lands. These enemy kingdom soldiers all had dull expressions without any trace of life. "Today, I'll give you prisoners a chance at freedom. 6 9th-level body tempering prisoners, 3 1st-level core formation prisoners, and 1 2nd-level core formation prisoner will join forces. If you can kill any one of them, I'll return your freedom to you." Qiao Qingshan pointed towards the group of youths, whereas his gaze instead descended upon the 2,000-plus enemy kingdom soldiers. Instantly, these enemy kingdom soldiers, whose faces were white and lifeless, suddenly felt their spirits shake, and their eyes emitted a yearning desire. A yearning desire to live. A yearning desire for freedom. Following which, their gazes descended upon the group of youths on the drill grounds. Their eyes emitted a bloodthirsty killing intent. Immediately, the expressions of many youths in the group went pale. When had they ever faced such fierce and ruthless people before? The gazes of these people were practically wishing to tear them to pieces. These enemy kingdom soldiers will definitely fight to the death for the sake of freedom and to continue living. Duan Ling Tian sighed. "Yeah, we absolutely can't slack off." Xiao Yu agreed deeply. Number 1. Fall out. One of the captains behind Qiao Qingshan stood out, and his gaze descended upon the group of youths. Immediately, a youth walked out in large strides. The youth's face was ghastly pale, and his eyes emitted a trace of fear. Noticing the state of the youth, the captain frowned as he asked, "Are you taking the test alone, or with your companions?" I'll be taking the test with my companions," the youth said in a slightly flustered manner. Meanwhile, 2 more youths with similarly ugly expressions fell out. "Report your numbers." Number 2. The 2 youths took a deep breath and stood with the youth that walked out earlier after they had finished reporting their numbers. "Release 30 prisoners into the arena." The captain looked towards the group of enemy kingdom soldiers in the first row. After being untied, the 30 enemy kingdom soldiers stretched their limbs and walked quickly into the arena. Their faces emitted frenzied and savage smiles. Their gazes flickered with cold light as they looked at the 3 youths like a pack of dogs seeing 3 bones. "Begin." As the captain's voice descended, the 30 enemy kingdom soldiers and the 3 youths all moved. "Kill." The 30 enemy kingdom soldiers roared together, their voices like thunder. Hearing their voices caused the 3 youths' expressions to turn grim. Facing the 30 enemy kingdom soldiers that pounced at them like fierce beasts actually caused them to be stunned out of fear momentarily, so their legs seemed as heavy as lead, and they were unable to move an inch. In the blink of an eye, the 3 youths were torn to shreds. Blood and flesh flew about in the air as a bloody stench suffused into the entire drill grounds. At a side of the drill grounds, more than 90% of the youths were scared to the point that their expressions turned ghastly white. Some were even worse and puked out everything they had eaten that morning. For a time, the entire drill grounds was suffused with a weird smell. So smelly. The ghastly pale-faced Meng Quan pinched his nose. Xiao Yu frowned. Only Duan Ling Tian didn't have any reaction. As a mercenary in his previous life, he had stayed in even worse conditions than this. As far as he was concerned, this was nothing. "Send them out of the city," the captain ordered. Immediately, a group of Iron Blood Army soldiers fell out. "Thank you, sir." The 30 enemy kingdom soldiers emitted a wildly joyous expression as they knelt down and kowtowed 3 times before leaving. Seeing 30 of their companions easily regaining their freedom caused the remaining enemy kingdom soldiers to emit a bright light from their eyes, as they yearned for themselves to be able to enter the arena as soon as possible. Presently, they looked at the group of youths in the distance as if they were looking at a group of sheep waiting to be slaughtered. If you choose to join hands with a companion and undergo the test, the danger is even greater. When 3 people face 30 enemy kingdom soldiers who will cooperate with tacit understanding, even if your strength is formidable, it will still be difficult to go against their joint attacks. Some of the youths noticed some inklings. Some of the youths that originally intended to join hands with their companions now had all given up on this intention. Looks like I have the ability of foresight. Manhwa grinned widely. These enemy kingdom soldiers are savage and cruel. I really hope we can join hands. Manhwa, are you really confident? Duan Ling Tian frowned. This past month's travel and interaction had long ago made him take Manhwa as a friend. I'll try my best. Manhwa's eyes emitted an intent to battle. Number 4. Meanwhile, the captain spoke once again. This time, only one youth entered the arena. After the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers were untied, they glared fiercely at the youth while walking over. Begin. The captain's voice had only just sounded when, whoosh, the youth exploded forth with his entire strength, and 3 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above him. Second-level core formation martial artist. It had to be noted that the youth's movement technique was extremely profound, and his speed was extremely swift. Even the second-level core formation martial artist amongst the enemy kingdom soldiers could only eat dust behind him. Before long, the second-level core formation enemy kingdom soldier decisively roared, "Box him in!" For a moment, the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers abruptly spread apart before surrounding the youth and causing him to have nowhere to dodge. The youth's expression turned grim as he targeted a 9th-level core formation enemy kingdom soldier. His body then jerked before pouncing towards the soldier. Bang! His origin energy exploded forth, and his fist that carried with it the force of lightning smashed onto the soldier's head, directly smashing it into pieces. His face was splashed with brain juice as well.
Nice.
Many of the youths that were spectating cheered. But in the next moment, their voices stopped abruptly. The youth on the arena screeched after blasting apart the enemy kingdom soldier's head. Then a wave of violent vomiting followed. Obviously, it was his first time killing someone. In the next moment, however, he was killed by the other 9 enemy kingdom soldiers that pounced on him. The 9 enemy kingdom soldiers obtained their freedom. It is needless to say that the lesson drawn from another's mistakes were undoubtedly the best lesson. After numbers 1 to 13 were all killed, number 14, a second-level core formation youth, finally launched a counterattack. He killed the enemy kingdom soldiers one by one until finally completely annihilating them. Number 14 passes. The youth took a deep breath when he heard the captain's voice and walked out of the pile of corpses with a heavy expression. Following him was number 15. After killing 6 enemy kingdom soldiers, the youth was exhausted and thus killed by the remaining 4 soldiers. The slaughter continued on. One after another, the youths either passed the test or were killed. Later on, these young geniuses from every corner of Swallow Mountain County were numb towards the slaughter and were able to freely exert their strengths. The number of youths who passes the test increased as time went by. Meanwhile, the expressions of the enemy kingdom soldiers weren't very good. Looks like it's beneficial to be at the back of the line. Manhwa glanced at the number 139 card in his hand and grinned. Number 100. In the wake of the captain's call, a black figure flashed into the arena like a ghost. It was precisely Yu Xiang. The 10 enemy kingdom soldiers eyed Yu Xiang with hostility in the beginning, but once they saw the 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes that appeared above him, they were all terrified. 4th level of the core formation stage. These soldiers understood that if they didn't fight desperately with their lives on the line, they would undoubtedly die, so they pounced towards Yu Xiang like madmen. But unfortunately, Yu Xiang just stood there. They weren't even able to break through his defensive chi barrier. They were killed by Yu Xiang one after the other. Although arrogant, this Yu Xiang does have some strength. Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed. Up until now, Yu Xiang was the young genius that passed the test in the most relaxed manner. Great work, brother Yu Xiang. Yu Xiao and the other three Yu clan youths couldn't help themselves from cheering. As Yu Xiang slowly walked back, his haughty gaze descended upon the violet-clothed figure in the distance, and his eyes flickered with a malicious brilliance. Duan Ling Tian naturally noticed Yu Xiang's gaze. However, he paid no attention to it. No matter whether it was his previous lifetime or the current one, there were plenty of people who wanted him dead, but in the end he still lived well on. Besides that one time where he was sold out by the person he looked to as a brother. After Yu Xiang and before Duan Ling Tian, a few third-level core formation young geniuses appeared, and one after the other they smoothly passed the genius camp test. Number 137. Finally, it was Duan Ling Tian's turn. Duan Ling Tian walked out in large strides, attracting the attention of many. Many of the people present felt respect in their hearts towards this youth that dared to speak freely and frankly in front of the Iron Blood Army's vice commander. The serious expressions of the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers that followed him up into the arena eased up when they noticed that Duan Ling Tian was much younger than the other youths, and their eyes emitted a sense of insanity. As far as they were concerned, a youth that looked to be not even 17 wouldn't be exceptionally strong. But when they saw the 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes that appeared above Duan Ling Tian, they were utterly dumbstruck. Another 4th-level core formation martial artist. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. Duan Ling Tian's body moved as if transforming into a bolt of lightning, flashing straight towards the 10 soldiers that were still in a daze. He lifted his arm and swung out. Like a huge python swinging out its tail, extremely ferocious. Bang! Instantly, 6 of the soldiers were blasted away by his arm swing, and 3 among them instantly died. The remaining 3 were barely breathing and had lost all means to continue battling. F***K. Freak. Not even using a martial skill, only a casual swing of his arm, and it seemed to contain the force of lightning. This Duan Ling Tian is too terrifying. He's actually a 4th-level core formation martial artist? No wonder he dared to confront Yu Xiang. He seems to not even be 17 yet. Such natural talent is virtually against the heavens. The group of youths was dumbstruck, and as they returned to their senses, they repeatedly swore. What a kid! Xiao Qingshan's gaze shone brightly. The 2nd-level core formation soldier's expression distorted as he howled, "Disperse!" The remaining 4 enemy kingdom soldiers immediately dispersed, avoiding being taken out in one hit by Duan Ling Tian. But would dispersing be of any use? The answer was no. Duan Ling Tian stood on top, rooted to the ground like a mountain. Greater teleportation. Instantly, a defensive chi barrier that was suffused with the radiance of origin energy flickered on the surface of Duan Ling Tian's body. Bang! A 9th-level body-tempering soldier had a vicious expression as he fully exploded out with the strength of an ancient mammoth, smashing his fist onto Duan Ling Tian's defensive chi barrier. Ka! The sound of bones breaking sounded. Ah! The soldier emitted a shrill cry and was blasted away before grasping onto this broken arm and rolling around the floor in pain while pouring out cold sweat. Meanwhile, the other 3 enemy kingdom soldiers' attacks had arrived. Without exception, they all followed in the footsteps of the first soldier. Especially the 2nd-level core formation martial artist. He had exploded forth with his full strength of 3 ancient mammoths and spared no effort when he smashed his palm onto Duan Ling Tian. As a result, all of the force was teleported in reverse, and his arm was directly broken from the impact before he was blasted away and blacked out on the ground. Star Shift. Slight shock appeared on Vice Commander Xiao Qingshan's face. He pondered for a moment before recalling an extremely valuable high-grade profound rank defensive martial skill. The surrounding drill grounds was deathly silent. This scene was even more shocking than when Yu Xiang was in the arena. Yu Xiang only used his defensive martial skill to block the enemy kingdom soldiers' attacks. However, Duan Ling Tian not only blocked the attacks, but his defensive martial skill could even counterattack, returning nearly all of his opponent's force. What a terrifying defensive martial skill. Yeah, this defensive martial skill is really too strong. The crowd was in an uproar. Many of the youths couldn't help from emitting a sense of reverence when their gaze was on Duanling Tian. And there was even a small amount of youths whose eyes emitted a dense intent to battle. Humph! Yu Xiang grunted coldly. His limelight being seized by Duanling Tian caused the malicious intent in his eyes to grow even deeper. After Duanling Tian passed the test, he quickly walked back to where he was standing earlier. As for those remaining enemy kingdom soldiers that were on the brink of death, they were all killed one after the other by the Iron Blood Army soldiers, their blood splattering on the spot. The moment they lost the battle was the moment their fates were sealed. Number 138. After Duanling Tian exited the arena, it was Xiao Yu's turn. Xiao Yu and Duanling Tian brushed shoulders as they passed each other, and Xiao Yu's eyes emitted a trace of astonishment. As far as he knew, the defensive martial skill that Duanling Tian executed earlier was undoubtedly the defensive martial skill that he cultivated, Star Shift. He was slightly curious as to where Duanling Tian learned Star Shift from. Moreover, it seemed to be cultivated to the perfection stage. Duanling Tian, you know Star Shift as well? Manhwa asked curiously. Half a year ago, he battled Xiao Yu during Aurora City's youth gathering and suffered a loss to Star Shift. Duanling Tian shook his head and said, Manhwa, what I executed wasn't Star Shift, only its characteristics are slightly similar. So that's how it is, and here I was feeling puzzled as to how you could know the Shao clan's martial skill. Manhwa nodded. Duanling Tian's gaze wandered off into the distance. As Xiao Yu stood there, his cold figure seemed to be still like a mountain, giving off an invisible suppressive feeling to others. The 10 enemy kingdom soldiers all had fearful expressions as they entered the arena and dispersed to surround him. Star Shift. A defensive chi barrier flickered on the surface of Xiao Yu's body, fully exploding forth with the strength of 4 ancient mammoths. Wanderer's Flash. Xiao Yu moved out swiftly as he locked on to the second-level core formation soldier. In the blink of an eye, he had already caught up to his target, and he jerked his sleeve that was suffused with origin energy. Sleeve dimension. His long sleeve swung out to intercept the enemy kingdom soldier's fist that contained the strength of 3 ancient mammoths. The soldier's expression distorted greatly. He only felt that his fist had hit the youth's sleeve, but it seemed to have hit cotton. There was no place to exert his strength on. In the next moment, he noticed a terrifying force tremoring towards him. Ka. The enemy kingdom soldier's arm was directly twisted to the point of breaking by Xiao Yu's sleeve movement. Accompanied by a shrill cry, the enemy kingdom soldier was blasted away by Xiao Yu, his body trembling violently as he rolled all over on the floor. Meanwhile, the remaining 9 enemy kingdom soldiers' attacks had arrived to blast themselves onto Xiao Yu. Some attacked from behind, some attacked from the sides. However, a string of shrill cries sounded at almost the same time as the 9 enemy kingdom soldiers whose attacks descended onto Xiao Yu were blasted away one after the other. Following which, Xiao Yu killed them all one by one. Number 139. Xiao Yu smoothly passed the test, and thus the captain continued to call upon the next number. Manhwa, good luck. Xiao Yu nodded to Manhwa as they brushed past each other. Don't worry. Manhwa inhaled a deep breath. Meanwhile, only now did the young geniuses present react. Their gazes all switched between Xiao Yu and Duanling Tian. This number 138 seems to be together with Duanling Tian. Even his defensive martial skill seems similar. Yeah, I wonder what defensive martial skill it is. It's too terrifying. He only needs to activate his defensive chi barrier. When others attack him, it's like hitting a mirror. They are unable to injure him and instead injured themselves. This defensive martial skill is certainly extremely rare even in our Crimson Sky Kingdom. Many of the youths present looked at Duanling Tian and Xiao Yu with gazes that emitted an envious and jealous luster. Duanling Tian, how do you know Star Shift? Xiao Yu couldn't stop himself from asking the moment he returned to Duanling Tian's side. Star Shift was an extremely valuable high-grade profound rank defensive martial skill. Even their Shao clan relied on their ancestors' bestowal in order to acquire this martial skill. This martial skill was something that neither the Li clan nor the Lin clan possessed. Even the large clans of Swallow Mountain County didn't have it, and even the county governor's estate might not have it. Thus, he was curious as to how Duanling Tian knew this martial skill. You've seen wrongly. The defensive martial skill I executed wasn't Star Shift, it was Greater Teleportation. Subsequently, Duanling Tian roughly recited the principles behind Greater Teleportation to Xiao Yu. It's indeed slightly different, but it achieves the same goal with different means. Xiao Yu couldn't help but sigh. Meanwhile, Meng Quan had already drawn an iron rod from the weapons rack on a side of the drill grounds and was executing Thousand Shadow Rod as he fought with the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers. Bang! With a swing of the rod, a 9th level body tempering soldier was blasted away. Just at this moment, an unexpected event abruptly occurred. One of the 9th level body tempering soldiers forcefully threw himself over and withstood a rod strike from Meng Quan before tightly grasping onto the iron rod. Don't worry about me, kill him. The enemy kingdom soldier had a vicious expression as his fresh blood flowed out of his mouth and he howled in grief. The other 8 soldiers had tears in their eyes as they pounced like madmen towards Meng Quan, who couldn't use his rod anymore. Meng Quan. Duanling Tian's face turned grim. Ah! When Meng Quan realized the danger he was in, he roared and hoisted up the soldier along with the iron rod before dropping it down towards one of the soldiers that was pouncing towards him. Bang! 2 lives with a single rod strike. Duanling Tian heaved a sigh of relief when he saw this scene. In the end, Meng Quan eventually passed the test with great hardships. Duanling Tian looked at the serious-faced Meng Quan and asked, Meng Quan, you've already passed the test. Why do you not seem happy at all? Duanling Tian, tell me, should I really have killed them? That enemy kingdom soldier was willing to die in order to restrain my weapon, just so that he could allow his companions to obtain freedom. Meng Quan had a complicated gaze as he heaved a sigh. That guy was indeed worthy of admiration. Xiao Yu nodded seriously. You killed him in order to protect yourself, and your battle with him would either end in his or your death, so you don't have to feel any guilt. Duanling Tian patted Meng Quan on the shoulder as he consoled him. The genius camp test continued on like a raging fire. Later on, there were still some youth geniuses who got killed, but overall it was much better than when it just started. Presently, all of the youths present could be considered to have experienced genuine slaughter and bloodshed. They didn't have any mental burdens anymore when they entered the arena to conduct a slaughter. Number 163. The youth that entered the arena this time was around the age of 18. He was wearing scarlet red robes and holding a sheathed sword in his hand. The moment he attacked, he attracted the gazes of everyone present. Above him, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Obviously, he was a 4th level core formation martial artist, and the 4th level core formation stage martial artist that was participating in the genius camp test so far. The 10 enemy kingdom soldiers had only entered the arena and had not even taken their positions when, whoosh, in the blink of an eye, a red stream of light flashed crisscross across the soldiers. Repeated sword cries could be vaguely heard falling and rising one after the other. Clang! The sound of a sword being sheathed echoed out. The youth's figure revealed itself after having moved from one side of the soldiers to the other. Bang! 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 The 10 enemy kingdom soldiers maintained their original postures before abruptly crashing to the ground. The warm, fresh blood that was spurting out of their throats was dazzling to the eye. Good. This scene caused Xiao Qingshan, the dignified vice commander of the Iron Blood Army, to be unable to control himself from cheering. His eyes shone, and he was eager to know more about this youth. What's your name? Su Li. The red-robed youth nodded in a slightly courteous manner to Xiao Qingshan. As expected, the crowd of youths were once again in an uproar. F***K. This Su Li is the real freak. I couldn't even see his movements clearly, but he killed all of the enemy kingdom soldiers. Too terrifying. I didn't even have time to see what his sword looked like. I think his strength is even more formidable than Duan Tian's and Yu Xiang's. I think so too. Hearing the discussions from the surroundings caused Yu Xiang's expression to turn ugly, but his eyes emitted a trace of fear when he looked at the faraway red-robed Su Li. Although he wasn't willing to admit it, the red-robed youth's strength was indeed more formidable than his. No, not only more formidable. As far as he was concerned, even the first-ranked youth in the younger generation of County City, Tan Rue, was still far from being as terrifying as the red-robed youth. I didn't expect there to still be such a freak among the young geniuses that participated in this year's Genius Camp test, Manhwa exclaimed in a low voice. What a swift sword! Xiao Yu's expression was serious. Su Li, as Duan Tian looked at the faraway red-robed youth, his eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. Earlier, he vaguely caught Su Li's movements. Su Li's movement technique was undoubtedly a high-grade profound rank movement technique. Moreover, it was cultivated to the perfection stage. If he were to face Su Li, unless he went at it with everything he had and exploded forth with the strength comparable to a 5th-level core formation martial artist, he would be far inferior to Su Li. Besides being fast, Su Li's sword skill was extremely terrifying. Duan Tian was sure of at least one thing. Su Li's sword skill was fast enough to compete with his sword-drawing arts. Sword-drawing arts was only able to manifest the might of a high-grade profound rank sword skill when attacking unexpectedly. Su Li's sword skill, however, was a genuine high-grade profound rank sword skill. Moreover, it was obviously one of the top sword skills among the high-grade profound rank sword skills. The synchronous shadow sword I passed on to Li Shi is still slightly inferior to his sword skill. Perhaps only Ku Er's freezing sword can compare to it, Duan Tian thought in his heart. Ku Er's freezing sword was part of the top cultivation method Frost God sword technique and was also the foundation for the succeeding profound sword skills within the Frost God sword technique, so it was extremely extraordinary. Unless I exerted all my strength, or my spirit serpent movement technique breaks through to the perfection stage, it would be extremely difficult to defeat this Su Li. Duan Tian took a deep breath and his eyes flashed with a trace of an intent to do battle. As time went by, dusk slowly approached. At this time, the Genius Camp tests were drawing to a close. After Su Li, although there were many third-level core formation youth genius that were quite extraordinary, they were still inferior to Su Li. Number 237. As the captain spoke, a youth so robust that he looked like a cow walked out quickly, his imposing manner piercing through the sky. Duan Tian, who was originally slightly drowsy, suddenly jolted awake and looked towards the robust youth. This guy isn't simple. Xiao Yu had a serious expression. He obviously noticed as well. Meanwhile, the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers followed him into the arena and pounced towards the robust youth. Hua! The robust youth's body trembled. In the blink of an eye, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form above him. 4th level of the core formation stage. Another one at the 4th level of the core formation stage. Many of the youths in the crowd couldn't stop themselves from exclaiming. The expressions of the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers that flew out all distorted greatly. Meanwhile, the robust youth had already closed the distance between him and the 2nd level core formation soldier. Clap! He slapped out his palm and knocked the soldier out cold. This was nothing. He proceeded to extend his hand and hoist up the soldier's body, hoisting it up as easily as lifting a feather. He treated the body as a weapon and swung it out towards the remaining 9 enemy kingdom soldiers. The 9 enemy kingdom soldiers were repeatedly blasted away, and they were all, without exception, killed from impact. The enemy kingdom soldier that the robust youth used as a weapon had long since become badly mutilated. Although the body seemed to have some slight movements, even God would find it difficult to save him. Suddenly, the robust youth lifted his hand and tossed up the soldier. Whoosh! His leg moved out like a bolt of lightning. Ka! The body of the enemy kingdom soldier dislocated at the waist and was kicked away, flying before crashing down onto the ground without any signs of life. The surrounding drill grounds fell into a deathly silence. Haha, good, good. The Iron Blood Army's vice commander laughed heartily. The youth that participated in this year's Genius Camp test really gave him too huge of a pleasant surprise. Especially this youth in front of him. He was virtually a combat machine. If he were to enter the battlefield, he would certainly slaughter the enemies in all directions. What's your name? Qiao Qingshan asked. The robust youth cupped his hand towards Qiao Qingshan and respectfully said, "Reporting to Vice Commander, sir. I'm known as Tian Hu." Tian Hu, well done. Qiao Qingshan smiled as he nodded without sparing any commendations. Immediately, the 100-plus youths present at the drill grounds looked at Tian Hu with envious and jealous gazes. This Tian Hu is extremely formidable. Duan Ling Tian's pupils constricted. I didn't expect that this many freaks would appear for this year's Genius Camp test. Meng Quan laughed bitterly. At the same time that Meng Quan sighed, there were plenty of people who were similarly sighing. So many black horses actually appeared during this year's Genius Camp test. TSK. For youths at the 4th level of the core formation stage is truly shocking. Yeah, in any other year, if even one 4th level core formation youth appeared, it would be enough to cause surprise. But this time, 4 people actually appeared. Especially that Duan Ling Tian. Although his current strength might not be on par with Su Li's and Tian Hu's, he's still young. Once grows to Su Li's and Tian Hu's age, he will certainly be even more terrifying. These words all entered Yu Xiang's ears. Yu Xiang's eyes flashed with a trace of cold light, revealing a killing intent. Once he grows up to the age of Yu Xiang and Tian Hu, then he will surely be even more terrifying? The corners of Yu Xiang's mouth curled into a sneer. Then he will at least need to be alive until then. It'll end soon, Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart as his gaze once again descended onto the drill grounds. In the later part of the test, over 10 youths died, but there were also over 10 youths that passed the test. At this moment, the Genius Camp test completely came to a close. The captain had returned to the side of the Iron Blood Army's vice commander and whispered something in his ear. Qiao Qingshan took a step forward and looked at the group of youths that seemed to have matured within a day as he slowly said, "First of all, congratulations on being able to pass the Genius Camp test. It's needless to say that this year's test was beyond my expectations. Besides the amount of people that passed being higher than the previous years, there were even a few peoples whose strength shocked even me." The people present all knew who Qiao Qingshan was talking about when he spoke about their shocking strength. For a moment, nearly everyone present had their gazes divided towards 4 places, respectively being Duan Ling Tian, Su Li, Tian Hu, and Yu Xiang. The 4 of them were absolute black horses. Tonight, all of you can enjoy yourselves, but starting from tomorrow, you will all become members of the Genius Camp, and for the next year, there won't be any luxuries for you to enjoy. Although all of you are extraordinary, based on our past experience, there won't be more than 10 of you alive in a year. Qiao Qingshan dispersed the crowd of youths after he finished speaking. After a year, no more than 10 would survive. None of the youths that left the Iron Blood Army drill grounds doubted what Qiao Qingshan had said. As the Iron Blood Army's vice commander, Qiao Qingshan had seen countless young geniuses die during the Genius Camp training over the years. What he said was something extremely worth believing, as it came from experience. TSK. No more than 10 people. I roughly counted earlier, and there were 98 people who passed the Genius Camp test. Meng Quan couldn't help but be astounded. Don't you have anything better to do? Duan Ling Tian shook his head and laughed. Let's have a feast tonight. We won't have the chance to enjoy ourselves for a year starting tomorrow, said Xiao Yu. Right? Let's open up our stomachs tonight and fill them to the brim. Meng Quan grinned. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Duan Ling Tian took the lead and walked towards the restaurant. After eating their fill that night, Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 took a stroll around Iron Blood City before heading back to the inn. Duan Ling Tian cultivated until deep into the night before slowly falling asleep. He deeply anticipated the arrival of the Genius Camp's training. In a vast, brightly illuminated room of another inn. Brother, I'm sorry. Yu Xiang lowered his head. Opposite Yu Xiang stood a 25-year-old young man. The young man was wearing casual clothes, and there was a similarity to Yu Xiang between his brows. However, at this moment, his eyes flickered with a ghastly brilliance, and mixed within was a trace of rage and killing intent. It isn't your fault. You don't have to blame yourself. The young man was precisely Yu Hong, the elder brother of Yu Xiang. Brother, it's all because of that Duanling Tian. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have had an argument that eventually attracted the vice commander over. Yu Xiang's eyes emitted killing intent as he spoke. Don't worry, as long as he enters the genius camp, I have ways to kill him. Yu Hong tightly clenched his fist as his origin energy started raging and swept out. Under extreme rage, 11 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above him. 8th level of the core formation stage. Brother, didn't that Wang Meng say that you have to avoid doing anything that would arouse suspicion? Yu Xiang was dazed. Yes, I do. Yu Hong's eye flickered and the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. But of the few centurions that are in charge of the genius camp, 2 of them are good friends of mine. When the time comes, all they will have to do is play a few underhanded tricks and that Duanling Tian will undoubtedly be dead. Great. Yu Xiang's was wild with joy. In the largest tent of the Iron Blood Army's quarters. Qingshan, I heard there were a few good seedlings in this year's genius camp. A refined middle-aged man sat at the head. He emitted a warm smile as he looked at the stalwart middle-aged man beside him. Yes, Commander, sir. Xiao Qingshan nodded with a face full of delight. I'm really getting curious as to why you're still happy even until now. Tell me the details. The refined middle-aged man lightly smiled. His interest had been aroused. Probably no one would have imagined that the cold-blooded Iron Blood Army's commander would be such an ordinary and refined scholar once he removed his armor. Yes, Xiao Qingshan answered respectfully. Among the 4 of them, the only one I heard about before was Yu Xiang, the younger brother of Decurian Yu Hong. But, although this Yu Xiang's strength isn't bad, he is a mediocre person and will not have any great achievements. Xiao Qingshan had an expression of disregard when he spoke of Yu Xiang. Isn't Yu Hong a centurion? The refined middle-aged man was dazed. After hearing Xiao Qingshan's explanation, he finally understood the whole story, and his expression sunk as he grunted. This Yu Hong is too presumptuous. How could the Iron Blood Army allow him to use his authority for personal gain? That's why, out of consideration of his previous merits, I gave him a chance. If he doesn't know how to change his ways, we can only discharge him from the Iron Blood Army, Xiao Qingshan said. You handled this matter well. That Duanling Tian is the second person that caught your attention? The refined middle-aged man asked curiously. Exactly. Xiao Qingshan nodded. This Duanling Tian isn't even 17 yet, but he isn't humble nor arrogant. He was even unfazed when faced with the murderous aura I released on purpose towards him. I suspect that although he is still young, but he's already killed quite a few people. Not even 17, but killed quite a few people? The refined middle-aged man was dazed. Yes. Later on, in order to prove my suspicions, I purposely observed him. As a result, I noticed that when faced with the brutal murderous scene in the drill grounds, unlike the other youths, he was unfazed and just watched coldly from the beginning till the end. It's hard to imagine how a youth that's only 16 years of age could be able to achieve such a feat, Xiao Qingshan continued. Early morning the next day at the Iron Blood Army campsite. The 98 youths from Swallow Mountain County gathered once again. After a night's rest, they were all brimming with vigor and vitality. Everything that happened yesterday was completely forgotten, and they started a new chapter in their lives. Before long, the captain that was in charge of presiding over the genius camp yesterday walked over quickly along with 5 young generals. The captain went straight to the point the moment he arrived. First of all, congratulations on passing the test and becoming members of the genius camp. I'm Yangda, a captain of the Iron Blood Army and the person in charge of this year's genius camp training. In ordinary times, the 5 centurions behind me will be your instructors and will bring you along for training. Now, I'll let you all freely form 5 groups, where each group may not have more than 20 people. Immediately, the group of youths on the drill ground started getting into action. Most of the people moved over to 4 different directions. In each of these four directions stood a single person. Duan Ling Tian, Su Li, Tian Hu, Yu Xiang. Obviously, as far as they were concerned, relying on them would be the most sensible choice. Duan Ling Tian, Xiao Yu, and Meng Quan stood on the spot. More than 20 people quickly gathered around them. In the end, with the help of the captain, Duan Ling Tian's group was left with 20 people. The same happened for Su Li, Tian Hu, and Yu Xiang's groups. Only the remaining 18 people had bitter smiles as they stood at a side with slightly helpless expressions and with a sense of loss. Alright, now that the groups have been divided, next, I'll briefly introduce the rules during the training for the next year. The first round of training will last for 3 months. Each group will face different challenges, and survival of the fittest will occur until only half of the people remain. In other words, after 3 months, only half of the people in each group shall survive, Yang De said slowly. As Yang De finished speaking, the eyes of the isolated group of 18 young geniuses all shone brightly. Haha, so that's how it is. Looks like my luck isn't that bad. At least my group doesn't have any freaks. Yeah, but they are going to have a hard time. Especially the groups with Duan Ling Tian and Yu Xiang. Duan Ling Tian will surely help his 2 companions. In other words, in the first round of training, only 7 people will survive from the remaining 17 people. Ha 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 ha. Yu Xiang's group is even worse. Yu Xiang has 4 Yu clan members with him, which means only 5 people can survive from the remaining 15 people. Different from these youths' delight, the youths of the other 4 groups all had slightly unnatural expressions, especially Duan Ling Tian's and Yu Xian's groups. These youths had extremely ugly expressions. F***K. Is something wrong with us? Why did we choose this group with Duan Ling Tian? Forget it. Our luck is still good. The people who chose Yu Xiang's group have the worst luck. Damn it. Why did I choose Yu Xiang's group? What lousy luck. Yeah, even Duan Ling Tian's group is better than this one. Hearing the surrounding discussions, Yu Xing's face sank as he growled. If you all think Duan Ling Tian's group is better, then F***K off over to him. Instantly, the surrounding youths went silent. They didn't dare to offend Yu Xiang at this moment. If Yu Xiang had any qualms against them, they would most certainly die. The current 5 groups will be considered small squads. The squads will be led by a centurion instructor and begin the 3-month-long first round of training. Yang Da's voice echoed out once again. Su Li's group was Squad 1. Tian Hu's group was Squad 2. Duan Ling Tian's group was Squad 3. Yu Xiang's group was Squad 4. The final group was Squad 5. The 5 centurions each stood at the front of a group. A centurion around the age of 30 with a medium stature stood in front of Duan Ling Tian's squad and said, in a loud voice, "From today onwards, I will be the instructor of Squad 3. Call me Fanjian." Fanjian? 1. Some of the youths were stunned. The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth twitched. This centurion's name was really special. Instantly, someone couldn't hold back their laughter. Is it very funny? Fanjian's face sunk as he reprimanded him. Instantly, the entire squad went silent. Follow me. We'll hike to the Dawnshroud mountain range. Fanjian shouted in a low voice as he took the lead and started running out of the Iron Blood Army's campsite. Meanwhile, the other 4 squads and their instructors followed from behind as well. The group of youths from the Genius camp followed their 5 instructors out of Iron Blood City and headed towards the Dawnshroud mountain range. In the beginning, there was still chatting and laughter amongst the group of youths, but by the time noon arrived, no one had the strength to continue idle conversations. All of them were both hungry and thirsty. "Instructor, where are we having our lunch at?" One of the youths in Squad 3 couldn't help himself from inquiring. "Humph, there's no lunch. If you want food, then wait till we arrive at Dawnshroud mountain range, and you can make some yourself. Based on our current traveling speed, it will be at least dusk before we arrive at Dawnshroud mountain range. All of you, keep your spirits high for me." Fan Jian coldly grunted. "What? We need to run until dusk?" The youths were stunned. They had only run for half a morning, and they were already tired and hungry. If they were to run until dusk, Wouldn't that mean being exhausted to the point of fainting? Behind the group of youths in Squad 3, 3 youths followed at a steady pace. Mengquan wiped the sweat off his forehead as he asked, Duanling Tian, aren't you tired? Presently, even Xiaoyu was breathing heavily. Only Duanling Tian remained unfazed. The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth contained a smile. Tired? Not to mention that this level of training would be nothing to him in his past lifetime. In this lifetime, his body was even stronger, so even if he had to run an entire day and night, he still might not even feel a bit tired. Mengquan, your breathing is too erratic. Inhale every 3 steps and exhale every 2 steps. Maintain a rhythm. Try it. Duanling Tian smiled as he passed on his secret technique to Mengquan. Mengquan did as he was told. After a short moment, he looked much better. He even stopped sweating, and his entire person seemed much more revitalized and full of energy. It really works. Mengquan's eyes shone. Xiaoyu was slightly surprised. He couldn't help himself from trying it out. After doing the same, he noticed that he didn't feel so exhausted anymore. He glanced deeply at Duanling Tian. He realized that the more deeply he got to know Duanling Tian, the more shocked he would be. Duanling Tian, I really admire you. Mengquan sighed. Before long, some of the others noticed that not only was Duanling Tian's group of 3 not slow, they were unfazed, causing them to all be stunned. Even the 5 instructors were slightly moved. Humph! Yu Xiang's breathing had started to become hurried as well, and his face sunk when he noticed Duanling Tian's current condition. Even Su Li and Tian, who both deeply glanced at Duanling Tian. Presently, besides the 5 instructors, only Duanling Tian's group of 3 seemed to be on a casual stroll. It didn't even look like they had been running. As the sun set, besides Duanling Tian's group of 3, all of the youths including Su Li, Tian Hu, and Yu Xiang couldn't help themselves from heaving a sigh of relief when a continuous mountain range appeared before them. We've arrived so quickly? Heh, so not challenging, Mengquan said sarcastically. Instantly, it attracted plenty of scornful gazes. Before long, the 5 instructors exchanged gazes before they simultaneously ordered, Halt! When the 5 squads of youths halted, some of them bended down and fiercely gasped for air. Finally, they could rest. After a short moment, they were all stunned on the spot, as the 5 instructors searched them one by one and confiscated all the fire pistons that the youths had brought along with them. 2. Interesting. As Duanling Tian thought of something, a smile appeared in the corners of his mouth. The 5 instructors gathered all the fire pistons before burning them all together. Instructor, this? Some of the youths questioned. Now, the captain is already waiting for you all at the Dawnshroud Mountain Range's entrance. The first person amongst you to arrive at the entrance will obtain a fire piston from the captain. That will decide whether you'll be able to eat cooked meat or raw meat tonight, one of the instructors slowly said. After a short moment, the group of youths seemed as if they had awakened from a dream. They couldn't even be bothered to rest before they madly ran towards the entrance. In the air, a myriad of ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed across, their imposing manner piercing through the sky. Before long, only Duanling Tian's group of 3 remained as they slowly walked over. Duanling Tian had an unperturbed expression. However, Xiaoyu and Mengquan beside him had puzzled expressions. Duanling Tian, aren't we going to go fight for it? Asked Mengquan. If we don't have a fire piston, we'll have to eat raw meat for the remaining days in this mountain range. Xiaoyu had a bitter smile as he spoke. Who said you must have a fire piston to start a fire? Duanling Tian asked indifferently. Not to mention he had fire pistons in his spatial ring. Even without a fire piston, he still had many methods to easily start a fire. For out of the 5 instructors followed the group and ran off to the entrance. Only Duanling Tian's squad instructor, Fanjian, glanced at Duanling Tian before frowning, but he didn't say a word. How do you start a fire without a fire piston? Asked Mengquan curiously. Forget it. We probably can't catch up now anyway. At most, when we need a fire, we can borrow it from the person who has the fire piston. Xiaoyu shook his head. He didn't quite believe what Duanling Tian had said. The 3 of them slowly walked forward, and eventually arrived at the entrance to the Dawnshroud mountain range. Upon arrival, they realized that only Captain Yongda and the other 4 captains were present, whereas the other youths had all vanished. What's going on? Yongda frowned as he glanced at Fanjian, who was following behind Duanling Tian's group of 3. Captain, sir, they seem to not care about the fire piston, so I didn't force them, Fanjian said in a matter-of-fact tone. Yongda glanced at Duanling Tian's group of 3 before shaking his head. Forget it. The 3 of you can now go hunt for some wild animals and prepare your own dinner. Duanling Tian nodded and entered the Dawnshroud mountain range with Xiao Yu and Meng Quan. They're probably thinking of borrowing the fire piston. Looking at Duanling Tian's group disappearing figures, Fanjian grunted. Then they're going to be out of luck? Yongda had a weird gaze. Huh. Fanjian looked at Yongda with a questioning gaze. Captain, why do you say so? Haha. Fanjian, do you know who got the fire piston? Another one of the centurions asked as he laughed. Who? Fanjian asked curiously. Yu Xiang. In the sky above Dawnshroud mountain range, the sun slowly set and concealed itself behind the other side of the mountain range. Duanling Tian looked at the scene in the sky and thought in his heart, maybe this Dawnshroud mountain range got its name from that. This Dawnshroud mountain range should be similar to Misty Forest, both having a myriad of wild animals and fierce beasts living within. We must be careful once we enter it, Duanling Tian said to Xiao Yu and Meng Quan by his side. The 2 of them nodded in reply. Let's go. Duanling Tian's figure flashed forward. Spirit Serpent movement technique. Xiao Yu and Meng Quan executed their movement techniques as well as they followed Duanling Tian like shadows. After entering the Dawnshroud mountain range, what appeared before them were 3 forks in the road, but after Duanling Tian chose one of them, what appeared before them were 5 more forks in the road. It was virtually a maze. Aowo. An ear-splitting wolf howl tore through the sky. When Duanling Tian turned around to look, he saw a pitch-black-colored wild wolf with eyes that flickered with bloodlust pouncing out of the bushes at the side. It opened its bloody mouth to bite him. Overconfident. Duanling Tian's brows knit as the muscles in his right arm slightly bulged. Whoosh. He swung out his right arm towards the wild wolf's chest, carrying with it a strong wind which swept towards the surroundings. A loud noise sounded, followed by a grievous howl from the wild wolf which abruptly ended in the next moment. The wild wolf's inner organs had been completely shattered from the impact of Duanling Tian's arm swing, and as such it only slightly struggled on the ground for a short moment before losing all signs of life. Dead. I didn't expect that our prey would come find us itself. Meng Quan laughed as he walked over and hoisted the wild wolf onto his shoulder. Duanling Tian inspected the surroundings for a moment before saying, let's return. The 3 of them left the Dawnshroud mountain range. On the way, they encountered some youths who were carrying their prey back as well. They were going to gather back at the Dawnshroud mountain range entrance. Many people had already begun cleaning the corpses of their prey. Some hunted tigers, some hunted eagles, and some hunted leopards. Duanling Tian's group of 3 found an empty space before putting the wolf corpse down. Meng Quan casually pulled out a dagger from his long boot and started cleaning up the wolf corpse. Before long, Meng Quan had already cleaned up the wolf's fur and even thrown its internal organs aside. Meng Quan, you seem experienced. Duanling Tian was slightly surprised. Hee, I used to always sleep out in the misty forest, sometimes even for times up to a month, so I needed to get food somehow. Now the meat is ready, so where are we getting our fire from? Meng Quan laughed slyly, but as he finished speaking, he was slightly perplexed. Suddenly, Xiao Yu frowned as he looked into the distance. Both of you look. Duanling Tian and Meng Quan looked over. They saw that nearly all of the genius camp youths besides their squad's members had already made a fire. Yu Xiang, can you lend the fire piston to us for a moment? Someone from Squad 3 went over to borrow the fire piston. That Yu Xiang got the fire piston? Xiao Yu and Meng Quan's expression were slightly ugly. If I'm not wrong, you're in the same squad as Duanling Tian, right? Yu Xiang asked the youth. Yes. The youth nodded. It's a small matter to lend the fire piston to everyone in your squad 3. But let me be blunt. If anyone dares to lend the fire piston to Duanling Tian, don't ever think about having a fire ever again. Yu Xian's eyes narrowed into a line and a cold light could be indistinctly seen from within. It's hard on everyone, and we all have been hungry for the entire day. Yu Xiang, why don't you? The youth hesitated. Humph. Just based on what you said, I'm not going to lend it to anyone from Squad 3. Yu Xiang grunted coldly before looking at the youths of his squad and the other squads. The fires you're all using were borrowed from me. Let me be clear and tell you all that if anyone dares to lend their fire to anyone within Squad 3, don't ever think of using my fire piston again. At this moment, Yu Xiang had a complacent expression that said, I'm the boss. Yu Xiang, don't worry. We're not ungrateful people. Yeah, we guarantee that we won't lend our fire to Squad 3. Instantly, besides the members of Squad 3, all the remaining squads stated their position clearly. You. The youth that came to borrow the fire piston was angry to the extent that his face flushed. I what? K off. Yu Xiang glared at the youth. The youth was intimidated to the point of taking 2 steps back before turning around and returning to Squad 3's area. At this moment, the members of Squad 3 looked fiercely at the youth. Luo Cheng, you still have the face to come back? You originally successfully borrowed the fire piston, but because you couldn't mind your own business and try to care of that Duanling Tian, now everyone in our Squad 3 doesn't have any fire to use. Duanling Tian is right over there. I'm curious though, would he be grateful to you for what you did? Luo Cheng felt muddle-headed. He didn't expect that he would be isolated because of this. For a moment, his eyes became red as the luster of tears moved within. What? You still want to cry? Take your prey and K off. One of the youths threw over a wild boar that had been cut up to Luo Cheng. You all. How could you all be so selfish? As Luo Cheng held on to the wild boar, his breathing became hurried. Before long, Luo Cheng noticed that the group of youths from Squad 3 that were originally planning to argue with him seemed so have seen something terrifying as they abruptly shut their mouths. Slap. Meanwhile, he noticed that a strong hand had been placed on his shoulder. He turned his head around and saw a smiling, violet-clothed youth standing behind him. Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian lightly smiled as he asked, You're called Luo Cheng? Duanling Tian had a good impression of this youth that was willing to strive to get the fire piston for a stranger like himself. Yes. Luo Cheng was slightly nervous and awkward. Relax. Since they don't welcome you, just follow me from now on. Duanling Tian said to Luo Cheng before walking back to where Xiao Yu and Mengquan were. Xiao Yu. Mengquan. Xiao Yu and Mengquan nodded to Luo Cheng. Nice to meet you. I'm Luo Cheng. Luo Cheng's face was slightly red, seeming extremely similar to a little girl. Not far from them. This Luo Cheng really has good luck, actually getting acquainted with someone to rely on like Duanling Tian. So what? Doesn't he still have to eat raw meat? Damn it. We really got screwed over badly by that Luo Cheng. The youths of Squad 3 all had ugly expressions. On the other side, Captain Yang watched this scene from afar. While roasting meat on the campfire, he asked the other 5 centurions who sat around the fire, How do you all think Duanling Tian will deal with his dinner? I heard he was even fearless in front of the vice commander, so he probably will just go seize the fire piston from Yu Xiang. Humph. If he seizes it forcefully, he might not even be a match for Yu Xiang. Exactly. Moreover, do you think the others won't help Yu Xiang? Including Su Li and Tian who, they have all received Yu Xiang's kindness. Otherwise, where would they have gotten their fire from? The 5 centurions discussed amongst themselves, and not one of them looked favorably upon Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian's group of 4 sat around in a circle. Duanling Tian, now that the fire piston is in Yu Xiang's hands, and the others have stated their positions on not lending their fire to us, what are we going to do about our dinner tonight? I've been hungry for a long time after running the entire day. Mengquan rubbed his dry stomach with a bitter smile on his face. Xiao Yu looked over to Duan Ling Tian as well. Why? Why not? I go again and plead to you, Xiang? Luo Cheng said with a red face. In the next moment, he noticed Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 sweep him with a burning gaze. I won't go, okay. Luo Cheng lowered his head. Whoosh. Duan Ling Tian abruptly stood up. Under the puzzled gazes of Xiao Yu, Mengquan, and Luo Cheng, Duan Ling Tian walked over to the other youths of Squad 3. The group of youths was on guard as if confronted with a formidable enemy. Relax. Duan Ling Tian smiled before his gaze focused on the pile of dried wood between the group of youths. You all probably don't need these pieces of dried wood anymore, right? The youths all exchanged glances, but nobody spoke a word. Since you all don't want them, I'll take them. Duan Ling Tian didn't bother to be polite. He grabbed the pile of dried wood and returned to Xiao Yu and the group side. We don't even have a fire piston. What do you want this dried wood for? Meng Quan had a puzzled expression. Who told you that you need a fire piston to start a fire? Duan Ling Tian raised his voice on purpose. For a moment, including Captain Yangda and the Centurions, everyone looked over at Duan Ling Tian in interest. Yu Xiang grunted as he raised his voice and mocked, Humph. Bullsh *T. I really do want to see how you'll start a fire without a fire piston. Are you so sure? Duan Ling Tian looked at Yu Xiang and abruptly started laughing. Of course, Yu Xiang said in opposition. Then how about we make a bet? Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered, and the smile on his face never faded. What do you want to bet? Yu Xiang's brows knit slightly. Betting on other things aren't interesting. How about whoever loses needs to take off their clothes and run 10 rounds around the Dawn Shroud mountain range entrance without a shred of clothes on their body? How about it? Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed as he spoke. What? Yu Xiang was stunned. The others were dumbstruck as well. This gamble was really too ruthless. Duan Ling Tian, you? Meng Quan looked at Duan Ling Tian with a dumbfounded expression. What, you don't dare? As Duan Ling Tian looked at Yu Xiang, the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. If you're a coward, then keep a low profile and don't bark around like a dog. King noisy. Yu Xiang's face flushed red as he said in rage, Why would I not dare? Okay, I'll agree. Very good. I hope you don't go back on your word later. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered. However, I'm worried you will go back on your word. Captain, sir. Yu Xiang abruptly stood up as he spoke and looked towards the distance. Something the matter? Yangda brought along the 5 centurions as he walked over. He had heard of the gamble between Duan Ling Tian and Yu Xiang. Captain, sir, this Duan Ling Tian wants to gamble with me, so I hope that you can bear witness so that he doesn't go against his word once he loses. Yu Xiang looked towards Yangda as he spoke. Yu Xiang is too ruthless, actually asking the captain to be the witness of this gamble. With the captain here, even if this Duan Ling Tian loses, he wouldn't dare go against his word. Duan Ling Tian really got himself into trouble this time. I'm really looking forward to the scene of Duan Ling Tian running around naked. Ha ha ha. I'm looking forward to it as well, but this Duan Ling Tian is only 16. He probably hasn't even grown any hair yet, so there's nothing interesting about that. The group of youths started discussing animatedly, as if they were sure that Duan Ling Tian would definitely lose. Duan Ling Tian, what do you think? Captain Yangda looked towards Duan Ling Tian, seeking his opinion. After all, this gamble was something Duan Ling Tian started. Duan Ling Tian, you better not say you don't dare. Yu Xiang's eyes narrowed as he cut off Duan Ling Tian's retreat. Captain, sir, I don't have any objections. Just as Yu Xiang said, please bear witness to this gamble. Duan Ling Tian nodded while the corner of his mouth held a smile. This Yu Xiang was such a considerate person. Yu Xiang's pupils constricted. He didn't expect Duan Ling Tian to so readily agree. Duan Ling Tian, you wouldn't have hidden a fire piston, right? If that's it, then this gamble will have no meaning. Yu Xiang looked at Duan Ling Tian with a vigilant expression. Don't worry, if I use a fire piston, then you can consider it my loss. Duan Ling Tian smiled. Fire piston? Did he need it? Yu Xiang heaved a sigh of relief. Remember that this is something you agreed to. If the both of you have no objections, this gamble will now take effect. Yang De looked towards Duan Ling Tian and Yu Xiang. The both of them shook their heads, showing that they did not object. Begin. Yang De looked with interest at Duan Ling Tian. The 5 centurions behind him also stared at Duan Ling Tian with burning gazes. They were all curious as to where Duan Ling Tian got his confidence from. Even they wouldn't dare say they could start a fire without a fire piston. Today, I'll teach everyone some general knowledge. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian was seated on the floor after picking out a rounded piece of dried wood from the pile. Meanwhile, the group of youths from the genius camp had all surrounded him. They fixedly stared at Duan Ling Tian's movements. Duan Ling Tian looked over at Mengquan and said, with a light smile, "Mengquan, give me your dagger." Mengquan passed his dagger over. After receiving the dagger, Duan Ling Tian raised his hand, cut off a stick from the end of the dried wood in his hand, and then sharpened it. At the same time, he dug a small hole in the rounded piece of dried wood. Wash. Small pieces of wood entered Duan Ling Tian's hand from the pile. Followed by the origin energy that burst forth from within his hand, they transformed into wood filings, and finally dropped into the small hole in the rounded piece of dried wood. Subsequently, he stuck the stick that he had sharpened earlier into the small hole, and he started to spin the stick. If someone from Earth in Duan Ling Tian's previous life were to see this, they would certainly recognize what he was doing with just a glance. Duan Ling Tian's present movements were precisely the act of boring wood to make fire. Qi. Indulging in fantasies. You really think you can start a fire like this? Yu Xiang sneered. But he was dumbstruck before long. Hiss. Duan Ling Tian spun the dried stick for a while before the wood filings started to smoke, and after a short moment, a small flame emerged. Mengquan, dried wood. Duan Ling Tian shouted in a low voice. Coming. Mengquan had already gone to prepare the dried wood as soon as the wood filings started smoking. After hearing Duan Ling Tian call for him, he promptly placed a pile of dried wood in front of Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian placed the burning wood filings into the dried wood. Instantly, a blazing flame erupted. No, impossible, it's impossible. Yu Xiang watched this scene in disbelief, and he took a few steps back before shaking his head in a manner that seemed like he was slightly out of his senses, as he didn't dare believe all this was real. At this moment, the surrounding youths all looked at Yu Xiang with gazes that emitted a trace of pity. This Yu Xiang was in over his head. Yu Xiao and the other 3 Yu clan youths all had extremely ugly expressions. Yu Xiang losing face would equal to the Yu clan losing face, and also they themselves losing face. Yang De deeply glanced at Duan Ling Tian before asking, Duan Ling Tian, how did you think of this? When I was playing as a kid, I accidentally stumbled upon it. I call it boring wood to make fire. Captain, what do you think? Duan Ling Tian rubbed his nose as he spoke. Good, very good. Yang De laughed heartily. Yu Xiang, since you asked the captain to bear witness, I trust you will certainly abide by the bet, right? Duan Ling Tian looked towards Yu Xiang as he smiled in ridicule. Yu Xiang's expression grew even uglier. In next to no time, he looked towards 2 of the centurions behind Yang De with a pleading gaze. Captain, sir, Yu Xiang is a disciple of the county city's Yu clan. If he were to be subjected to such humiliation, the Yu clan would undoubtedly be humiliated as well. At that time, I'm afraid it would be difficult to wind the matter up. One of the centurions spoke out. Yeah, Captain, sir, let's just take this matter as a joke and just laugh about it. Another centurion spoke out. Yang De frowned. Yu clan. He had to take them into consideration. However, this gamble was something that was obvious to everyone present. If he, the person who bore witness to the gamble, were to just drop the matter, his prestige would definitely be tarnished. And if the news were to be spread, it would be difficult for him to maintain his position within the Iron Blood Army. Ha 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 ha. A wave of loud laughter suddenly echoed out. Presumptuous. The centurion that spoke out at first to help Yu Xiang looked at Duan Ling Tian angrily, and his face went grim. How can you be presumptuous in the presence of the captain? Centurion, sir. Duanling Tian eyes narrowed, and the corners of his mouth held a smile. The gamble between Yu Xiang and I was not only witnessed by the captain, but also by everyone present here. When the gamble was just established, I wonder why you didn't speak out and stop it. Could it be that it was because you didn't think of the Yu clan at that time? Or maybe, I being able to win and Yu Xiang losing exceeded your expectations. Thus, you brought out the Yu clan to suppress the captain? As Duanling Tian finished speaking, his eyes flickered with a ghastly brilliance. Could it be that you think the captain would be afraid of the Yu clan and would be obliged to bow down in front of the Yu clan? When the centurion heard what Duanling Tian said, his expression instantly turned slightly pale and gloomy. After glaring at Duanling Tian with eyes filled with resentment, the centurion looked at Yangda with a terrified expression. Captain, sir, I've never once thought in this way. I really didn't mean it in that way. The other centurion sensibly shut his mouth when faced with such a situation. Even though he was a good friend of Yu Xiang's elder brother, Yu Hong, he still wouldn't dare to offend his superior officer. This gamble was something that was obvious to everyone present. I hope that Captain can handle the matter in a just manner. Xiao Yu spoke just at the right moment to help Duanling Tian. We hope Captain can handle the matter in a just manner. Instantly, many of the youths from every squad followed suit and expressed their support. Yu Xiang's expression became even uglier. His gaze swept past these youths. Most of these youth had all borrowed fire from him, but never would he have thought they were actually fence-sitters and were so realistic. This caused him to get so angry that even his lifeblood started boiling. Yangda looked towards Yu Xiang as he indifferently said, Enough. Since I acted as the witness for this gamble, I would naturally not side with any party. Yu Xiang, make good on your side of the bet. Although he had to consider the county city's Yu clan, he wasn't afraid of them. Not to mention that the Iron Blood Army was extremely far away and didn't have any restraints. Even if the Yu clan's patriarch came to Iron Blood City in person, he would be helpless against him. He was a member of the Iron Blood Army, and the Iron Blood Army was famous for protecting its own. Even the members of the county governor's estate would not dare to rashly offend the Iron Blood Army. Yu Xiang inhaled a deep breath as a sense of humiliation flashed within his eyes, and his body started to tremble unconsciously. Under the keen gazes of the surrounding youths, Yu Xiang started to take off his clothes, piece by piece. Currently, Duanling Tian, Xiao Yu, Mengquan, and Luozheng had all returned to where they were sitting earlier and started roasting the wild wolf and wild boar. They roasted their food as they watched the performance Yu Xiang put on. Haha, I didn't notice that this Yu Xiang would be even fairer than women. Mengquan laughed heartily as he watched Yu Xiang dashing around. Duanling Tian laughed as he said, There's even a birthmark on his buttocks. Presently, it wasn't just Duanling Tian's group of 4. Even the other youths were watching fixedly at Yu Xiang's performance, deeply afraid that they would miss any brilliant scenes. As the wind blew past Yu Xiang's stark-naked body every few steps he ran, his face would become even gloomier. His eyes even emitted a dense hatred and killing intent. Duanling Tian, I swear to never stop until I get my revenge. Ah! Yu Xiang abruptly howled after he ran half the distance. Whoosh! His legs moved as he executed his movement technique, quickly finishing the remaining rounds. Brother Xiang. Yu Xiao passed over a set of clothes just at the right moment. After putting on his clothes, Yu Xiang took a deep breath before sitting in a corner. He was too ashamed to show his face in front of anyone. Mengquan laughed as he said, Haha, satisfying. Xiao Yu started laughing as well. Luo Cheng's eyes flickered and a smile appeared in the corners of his mouth. He noticed that a trace of delight had unexpectedly appeared in his heart. Duanling Tian smiled as he said, Okay, hurry up and eat. Don't let it get burnt. Meanwhile, besides the Yu clan members, all the other youths of the genius camp were whispering amongst themselves. Their topic of discussion was precisely Yu Xiang, who had just run 10 laps stark naked. The youths of Squad 3 currently had complacent and delighted expressions. That Yu Xiang even said that he wouldn't lend his fire to our Squad 3. Humph! Why would we need to borrow fire from him? With Duan Ling Tian's method of boring wood to make fire, even if we don't have fire pistons, we can easily start a fire. Yes, Duan Ling Tian is really too outstanding to the extent that he's even able to create such a method. I really can't believe that Duan Ling Tian is only 16. When I was his age, I hadn't even stepped into the core formation stage, let alone being like him, capable of so many different skills. That Yu Xiang probably doesn't have the face to meet anyone anymore. Talking about that, his bird looks really small. I wonder if it can even be used. Sure. Speak softer. He's a member of the county city's Yu clan after all. Be careful, because if he targets you, then you'll have a really hard time. Yeah, let's talk softly. Actually, I think his bird is really small too, like a toothpick. At this moment, the youths of Squad 3 unsparingly praised Duan Ling Tian and ruthlessly trampled on Yu Xiang at the same time. It was as if they had completely forgotten that just a while ago, they were extremely unsatisfied with Duan Ling Tian and even thought about putting down their pride to go borrow the fire piston from Yu Xiang. Afar, Captain Yang De gnawed on his roasted meat, but his gaze never left Duan Ling Tian. As far as he was concerned, this youth was just too miraculous. He was absolutely a genius among geniuses. He was even able to think of such a way to start a fire. Among the 5 centurions, the instructor of Squad 3, Fanjian, had a surprised expression all over his face that still hadn't faded until now. He completely understood now. It turned out to be that the reason Duan Ling Tian took his time to walk towards the Dawn Shroud mountain range earlier today and didn't fight for the fire piston was because he was already prepared since a long time ago. He truly didn't need the fire piston to start a fire. He deeply felt how terrifying this youth was. Among the remaining 4 centurions, 2 of them had indifferent expressions, as if the matters of today were of no personal interest to them. The final 2 centurions glanced at each other before laughing helplessly. They were both Yu Xiang's elder brother's good friends, so they felt slightly guilty in their hearts because they weren't able to help Yu Xiang. But before long, a killing intent flashed within their eyes. So full. Duan Ling Tian burped and then let himself follow the force of gravity and lie down bare on his back before crossing his legs and glancing up into the night sky. An array of dazzling and resplendent stars floated in the sky. Luo Cheng, I've already finished 3 pieces of meat, but you've not even finished one. Learn from me. This is how a man should be. Meng Quan grunted. Xiao Yu laughed as he said, Meng Quan, what you're doing is gulping down without enjoying anything. Scram. Didn't you see Duan Ling Tian eat even faster than me? Meng Quan said. Meng Quan, you're even dragging my name through the mud with yours. Duan Ling Tian couldn't stop himself from deriding. It was a habit from his past lifetime that caused him to eat so quickly, because when he was a mercenary, sometimes he wouldn't even have any time to eat during missions, and thus he could only gulp down his food. It was lucky of him that his digestion capabilities were strong, and thus there were no side effects from all the fast eating. In his past lifetime, he cultivated form and while boxing and cultivated his internal energy, so his internal organs had been tempered to an extremely durable state that was far from anything an ordinary person could compare to. In this lifetime, his fleshly body and internal organs were even stronger. Presently, not mentioning origin energy, just the strength of his fleshly body was comparable to the strength of 5 ancient mammoths. Who else could possibly achieve such a feat? We won't have to sleep here tonight, right? Luo Cheng was slightly worried. If we can sleep here, it would be good enough. All I'm afraid of is we might need to sleep inside the Dawn Shroud mountain range, said Meng Quan. F***K. Meng Quan, you better hope you aren't right. Duan Ling Tian had only just sat up when he noticed Captain Yang De and the other 5 centurions walking over from afar. Yang Da's gaze swept past all the genius camp youths present before ordering, Rise, report for duty. Instantly, the youths divided into 5 squads and started to line up. Suddenly, Yang De frowned as he looked to a far-off spot and shouted, Yu Xiang, what are you still doing there? Report for duty. People with birthmarks on their buttocks are really something, even daring to not listen to the captain. Meng Quan grinned. Immediately, besides the Yu clan members, All the youths present broke out in laughter. If you have the balls, say that one more time. Meanwhile, Yu Xiang took his time and walked over. He arrived just in time to hear what Meng Quan said. His gaze went cold as he looked at Meng Quan with a face filled with killing intent. Humph! Meng Quan grunted and ignored Yu Xiang. He didn't dare to go too far when he provoked Yu Xiang. Heh, these days people aren't even allowed to speak the truth. It isn't a secret that you have a birthmark on your buttocks. Duan Ling Tian faked a sigh as he spoke. Ha 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 ha. Instantly, everyone present burst out in laughter once again. The youths present couldn't help themselves from recalling the scene of Yu Xiang running stark naked around the mountain range entrance. Duan Ling Tian. As he ragefully said Duan Ling Tian's name, Yu Xian's eyes emitted a killing intent that seemed like it was capable of swallowing people up. Enough. Yang Da's face sunk as he reprimanded them. If the two of you want to argue, you'll have plenty of chances later on. Now, 5 squads of genius camp members, follow your instructors and enter deep into the Dawnshroud mountain range. Don't blame others if you can't catch up and get torn to shreds by the fierce beasts on the way. The 5 centurions moved as soon as Yang Da finished speaking, transforming into 5 gusts of wind that blew into the Dawnshroud mountain range. The 5 squads of youths hurriedly pursued their instructors, and because the 5 instructors had intentionally decreased their speed, the youths were able to catch up. If they hadn't, there would only be few amongst these youths that were capable of following in their pace. Before long, the group reached the second fork in the road. By this time, all 5 squads had been separated. Duan Ling Tian, Xiao Yu, Meng Quan, and Luo Cheng took the lead and followed right behind their instructor, Fan Jian. Meng Quan, you jinx. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help himself from glaring at Meng Quan. He could still remember what Meng Quan said earlier, and Meng Quan really hit it spot on. The good things don't happen, but the bad ones do, Meng Quan said, with a bitter smile. Luo Cheng's face was slightly pale as he said, in a trembling voice, no fierce beasts will sneak attack us while we sleep, right? Rubbish. Of course they will, Meng Quan said angrily. Luo Cheng, you haven't stayed out in the wild before? Duan Ling Tian asked while dashing like the wind, his breathing and expression calm as if it was nothing. Never. Luo Cheng shook his head. I really don't understand why a pretty boy like you, who leads a comfortable life, would come to the genius camp. Meng Quan was slightly puzzled. Hearing what Meng Quan said caused Luo Cheng's body to tremble. He clenched his fist and said, while glaring at Meng Quan, I'm not a pretty boy. Heh, even throwing a tantrum. Want to fight with me? Meng Quan grinned and his eyes emitted an intent to do battle. Enough. Meng Quan, why don't you save your strength to deal with fierce beasts? Xiao Yu shook his head. Duan Ling Tian gave Luo Cheng a deep glance. He noticed that earlier, when Meng Quan said that Luo Cheng was a pretty boy, Luo Cheng, who was usually meek, actually emitted a trace of killing intent from his eyes. He could guess that this Luo Cheng was someone who had a story. Before long, Squad 3 eventually entered the inner area of the Dawnshroud mountain range after countless battles with some weak fierce beasts along the way. The fierce beasts that appeared in their present surroundings were at least comparable to second-level core formation martial artists. In the surrounding bushes, pairs of eyes that flickered with a green luster were indistinctly noticeable. Obviously, there were wolves concealed within. These wolves weren't regular wild wolves, as every single one of them were formidable fierce beasts. Tonight, we'll be sleeping here. Fan Jian's gaze swept past all the youths in Squad 3 as he spoke indifferently. What? Sleep here? Are you kidding? Instantly, the expressions of some of the youths went slightly pale. Luo Cheng was one of them. One of the youths gulped down some saliva before asking, Instructor, you'll protect us, right? For a moment, most of the youths looked towards Fan Jian with gazes filled with hope. Fan Jian coldly grunted, You're all overthinking things. I'm only in charge of giving you training orders. Even if a fierce beast were to bite you to death, I would still not interfere. Don't you forget that entering the genius camp meant that there was only a thin chance of survival. And this is only the first and easiest round of the training camp. Hearing what Fan Jian said caused some of the youths to be unable to restrain their expressions from becoming pale. There were also some youths who were unperturbed, as they obviously had experienced similar circumstances, just like Duan Ling Tian, Xiao Yu, and Ming Quan. Sleep. Fan Jian swept his gaze across the youths before lying down on the floor. He was soundly asleep in next to no time, only leaving behind the group of youths who looked at each other. Duan Ling Tian was the first to lie down on the spot. Duan Ling Tian, we're really going to sleep here? Luo Cheng's legs were still shaking. Luo Cheng, don't be a pussy and go to sleep. Ming Quan yawned before lying down as well. Xiao Yu followed suit. The youths in Squad 3 that were braver all followed suit and lied on the ground. In the end, only 7 youths remained standing. They didn't dare to lie down. Luo Cheng, you're not planning on standing the entire night, right? Duan Ling Tian's eyebrows slightly twitched as he asked. I don't dare sleep. Luo Chen laughed bitterly. Then you can stand the entire night. Duan Ling Tian closed his eyes and fell asleep. Aonuo. Deep in the night, moonlight shone onto the ground as a pack of fierce wolves pounced towards the group of youths in Squad 3 from within the bushes. Instantly, the 7 youths who hadn't slept were as if facing a formidable opponent. Some of the youths who hadn't completely fallen asleep jumped up swiftly before entering into battle with the pack of fierce wolves. The commotion grew louder and louder. Even Xiao Yu and Ming Quan woke up to deal with the fierce wolves. When the 30 over fierce wolves were finally killed, the group of youths were exhausted, and some were even injured. F***K. Duan Ling Tian actually didn't wake up. Ming Quan couldn't help himself from swearing when he noticed that Duan Ling Tian was still lying there on the spot and hadn't even moved an inch. The instructor didn't wake up either. Many of the youths were speechless. Weren't these 2 people afraid of being bitten to death by the fierce wolves? At dawn the next day, when the first light of dawn enveloped the land, Duan Ling Tian awoke full of spirit and vigor. Looking at the 3 youths who had dark circles around their eyes, Duan Ling Tian was slightly surprised. Xiao Yu, Ming Quan, Luo Cheng having dark circles isn't something strange, but the 2 of you. Didn't the 2 of you sleep last night? Duan Ling Tian, if it wasn't for the 3 of us helping you deal with all the fierce wolves that pounced towards you, you would have died last night. Ming Quan glared as he angrily said, but you, however, slept all the way until dawn. Ming Quan, do you really believe that I would have died if the 3 of you didn't help me deal with those fierce wolves? Duan Ling Tian grinned. Ming Quan naturally didn't believe him. You ungrateful bastard. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled. He knew that if he didn't say something, Ming Quan would really think that he profited at their expense. Ming Quan, if I'm not wrong, there was a total of 3 packs of wild wolves that attacked us last night. Among them, there was a total of 9 fierce wolves that pounced towards me, and you warded off 3 of them. Xiao Yu warded off 5 of them, and Luo Cheng only warded off 1. Am I right? You. Ming Quan was utterly dumbstruck. Weren't you sleeping? How did you know? If I'm not wrong, Duan Ling Tian was in a state between sleep and wake the entire night. But, according to my knowledge, besides those troop officers that have been fighting wars for years, and assassins that live on the edge of a blade, only Origin Core martial artists and above are able to achieve this feat. Xiao Yu glanced deeply at Duan Ling Tian, as he felt that it was getting more and more difficult to see through Duan Ling Tian. Freak. Ming Quan couldn't help himself from exclaiming. The gaze which Luo Cheng looked at Duan Ling Tian with flashed with a trace of adoration. Instructor, do you have any grade 7 gold injury pills? He can't hold on much longer. He's already consumed 2 grade 8 gold injury pills back to back, but it was still difficult to suppress his injuries. Suddenly, a youth with bloodshot eyes looked at Fan Jian, who had just awoken. Grade 7 gold injury pill? How could I possibly have one? Fan Jian frowned and coldly swept his gaze at the youth that was lying there on the ground on the verge of death. Fate decides who lives and dies. The first elimination round of the training has only just begun. Before long, the youth passed away. For a moment, the scene was filled with a mourning atmosphere. On the second day of the 3-month-long training, someone had died already. Presently, besides Duanling Tian and Xiao Yu, who were still able to keep their composure, the other youths within Squad 3 all more or less had a sense of a lingering fear. Just at this moment, Fan Jian shouted, "Gather!" in a low voice. After the members of Squad 3 lined up, Fan Jian gave the orders for the training. Before dusk tonight, no matter what method you use, I hope that every single one of you is able to hunt a cloud leopard. Those who are unable to complete the mission will be thrown into the gathering place of fierce beasts who are at the 4th level of the core formation stage or above. Fan Jian's voice was filled with a trace of mercilessness. Cloud leopard? 3rd level core formation fierce beast? The expression of some of the youths in Squad 3 went grim. These youths were all only 2nd level core formation martial artists. Just at this moment, 4 figures had already left at the first moment, attracting the attention of the remaining youths. It's Duanling Tian's group. That Luo Cheng really has good luck. Now that he's become Duanling Tian's friend, this mission will be extremely simple for him with Duanling Tian's help. Enough. There's no use mentioning this. Let's discuss how we're going to cooperate. While the group of youths from Squad 3 were still in discussion, Duanling Tian's group of 4 had already entered deep into the inner area of the Dawnshroud mountain range. Luo Cheng, your luck isn't bad since you're able to rely on Duanling Tian with us. Meng Quan patted Luo Cheng's shoulder as he grinned. Luo Cheng paid no attention to Meng Quan and instead looked towards Duanling Tian with a serious expression. Duanling Tian, if we encounter a cloud leopard, I hope you don't help me right away. I want to try myself, and I only want you to help me only if I encounter danger. Is that okay? Duanling Tian glanced at Luo Cheng with slight surprise before nodding. He really didn't notice that the Luo Cheng who was usually like a girl would have such a staunch and resolute side. Luo Cheng, you're really asking for extra trouble. With Duanling Tian here, we really don't have any need to do anything. Meng Quan shook his head and laughed. Duanling Tian abruptly laughed and said, Meng Quan, just based on what you said, you're going to hunt your cloud panther yourself? Or you can ask Xiao Yu to help you, because I won't. F***K. Duanling Tian, that joke isn't funny at all. Meng Quan was dumbstruck. After saying that, he looked towards Xiao Yu only to see Xiao Yu turn his head away, acting as if he didn't notice his gaze. He suddenly felt that he had fallen into a pit he had dug himself. Duanling Tian. Suddenly, Xiao Yu looked towards Duanling Tian and asked, how did you achieve this state between asleep and awake? 1. You're not a soldier that experienced hundreds of battles and is accustomed to camping outside. 2. You're no an assassin. 3. You're not an origin core stage powerhouse. Do you have some sort of secret technique? Obviously, Xiao Yu was interested in Duanling Tian's method of achieving the state between asleep and awake. As far as he could guess, Duanling Tian surely had some sort of secret technique. No matter whether it was the breathing rhythm when running or the boring of wood to make fire, they were all things that made him realize how miraculous Duanling Tian was. Xiao Yu, this time I'm afraid I have to disappoint you. I really don't have a secret technique for this. Duanling Tian shook his head. Experiencing hundreds of battles and accustomed to camping outside? Didn't this exactly portray his previous life as a mercenary? Moreover, even if he didn't have this experience, relying on his soul, which was comparable to an origin core martial artist's soul, he would be able to do many things that only origin core martial artists could, including the means of entering into the state between asleep and awake. Then, next time I sleep, I'll have to trouble you to take care of me. Remember to wake me up when a fierce beast attacks. I can finally sleep properly tonight. Xiao Yu's eyes flashed with a cunning smile. Me too. Meng Quan's eyes shone. I want it too, Luo Cheng said bashfully. Want your sister? If you want it, ask Meng Quan. The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth twitched as he glared at Luo Cheng. Don't you know that I don't swing that way? In next to no time, Duanling Tian's group of 4 encountered their first cloud leopard, which was dealt with by Luo Cheng. Although Luo Cheng's martial skills were all cultivated to a good level, he was only a 2nd-level core formation martial artist after all, and thus he was quickly forced into a disadvantageous position by the Cloud Panther. Whoosh! Xiao Yu's figure jerked and was about to flash over to help Luo Cheng. Clap! Duan Ling Tian moved his hand to press onto Xiao Yu's shoulder, and he lightly shook his head. Not yet. Xiao Yu looked at Luo Cheng with an uncertain expression. Before long, Xiao Yu seemed to have noticed something, and the corners of his mouth held a hint of a smile. Die! Just at this moment, Luo Cheng roared, and the origin energy on his fist exploded forth. Above him, besides the 3 ancient mammoth silhouettes, one more ancient mammoth silhouette appeared. The strength of 4 ancient mammoths. 3rd level of the core formation stage. Bang! Luo Cheng shattered the skull of the cloud leopard with a single punch. Then the cloud leopard struggled for a few moments before crashing to the ground. Huff huff. Luo Cheng bent his waist as he breathed out heavily. A smile appeared on his face when he gazed at the cloud leopard's corpse. What the heck? Meng Quan was stupefied. Luo Cheng breaking through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage would also mean that among their group of 4, he was the bottom feeder. Meng Quan, didn't you say you wanted to spar a few rounds with me? Luo Cheng looked towards Meng Quan and grinned. K off. Meng Quan glared at Luo Cheng. Luo Cheng, don't be too complacent. Once I break through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage, I'll surely beat you to a pulp. Lucky bastard. Being able to break through just like that. Meng Quan felt extremely speechless. Meng Quan, why don't I help you deal with your cloud leopard? I won't trouble you to do anything. Xiao Yu's eyes narrowed as he smiled. No, I still need to rely on it to help me break through. Meng Quan hurriedly shook his head. As far as he was concerned, since Luo Cheng could break through while battling a cloud leopard, he could as well. However, he was bound to be disappointed. In the end, Xiao Yu still helped him, and only then was he able to successfully kill the cloud leopard. Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 spent the entire morning searching for their 4 cloud leopards. It's already noon. Let's go hunt some fierce beasts for lunch. After finishing the mission, Meng Quan's mood was elated. Duan Ling Tian and the other 2 all agreed to his suggestion. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, a wave of ear-splitting roars sounded from afar. These roars were accompanied by the quaking of the ground. Looks like some fierce beasts know that we're hungry and decided to send themselves over. Meng Quan rubbed his palms together as he waited for his prey to arrive. However, his expression quickly turned grim. Duan Ling Tian and the other 2 of their group also had grim expressions. Scorching Tiger, a level 4 core formation stage fierce beast. Oh my god, there's 7. Luo Cheng exhaled a breath of cold air. All of you, take the cloud leopards and leave first, Duan Ling Tian decisively said. What about you? Meng Quan's expression distorted. I'll bait them away. If I don't, once they pounce at us together, I won't be able to take care of all of you. Hurry up and go, Duan Ling Tian said, with a serious expression. How could it be possible for 4th level core formation stage fierce beasts to appear here? Xiao Yu's eyes flickered with a slightly puzzled expression. It isn't the time to talk about this. Just hurry up and leave, Duan Ling Tian urged once more. Duan Ling Tian, be careful. Let's go. Xiao Yu nodded as he realized the severity of the matter. He then received the cloud leopard Duan Ling Tian, passed over to him before beckoning Meng Quan and Luo Cheng to follow him and leave. If he stayed behind, he would only be a burden. Duan Ling Tian, we'll be waiting for you to return. Meng Quan and Luo Cheng glanced at Duan Ling Tian's figure before gritting their teeth and following Xiao Yu to leave. Looks like I need to go all out today. Duan Ling Tian's eyes focused as he looked at the 7 enormous tigers whose bodies seemed to be burning ablaze and silently awaited their arrival. If he was an ordinary 4th level core formation martial artist, he would only be able to bait the scorching tigers away. But he wasn't. If he were to exert his full strength, his entire strength was comparable to a 5th level core formation martial artist. The Scorching Tiger was a 4th level core formation stage fierce beast with a body of crimson red fur. When it moved, it seemed like a ball of fire blazing, and this was how it got its name. The 7 Scorching Tigers arrived not far away from Duan Ling Tian in but a blink of an eye before howling and pouncing towards him. The sound of air exploding could be heard as the 7 scorching tigers approached in full fury. Above them, each one appeared 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes. A total of 42 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed onwards. Bring it on. Duanling Tian's eyes emitted a bright light as an excited smile appeared on his face. Ever since he gained the strength of 7 ancient mammoths, he hadn't had the chance to exert his strength to his heart's content. Today was undoubtedly an opportunity for him. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. Although he was only using a high-grade profound rank movement technique at the mastery stage, relying on the strength of an extra ancient mammoth compared to these scorching tigers allowed Duanling Tian's speed to completely overcome the scorching tigers. In the blink of an eye, Duanling Tian seemed to have transformed into a spirit serpent as he brushed past one of the approaching scorching tigers and appeared on its back before sitting down on it. Roar! The scorching tiger was enraged as it shook its body, trying to throw Duanling Tian off. However, Duanling Tian straddled himself onto the scorching tiger's back and was stable like a mountain, not moving a single inch. Don't worry, even if you don't want to let me get down, I will get down on my own soon. Duanling Tian's gaze went cold and his hand pressed upon the sword hilt on his waist, drawing his violet myrtle flexible sword. Whoosh! His sword flashed out, exploding forth with his entire strength of 7 ancient mammoths. He didn't use any martial skills. The sword directly pierced into the enormous head of the scorching tiger. Poochie! Blood splattered everywhere. Roar! The scorching tiger let out a sad and shrill growl before its body dropped down to the ground. Whoosh! Duanling Tian used the back of the scorching tiger as a stepping point and jumped onto the back of the other 6 scorching tigers, relying on his extraordinary speed and strength to kill the scorching tigers one by one. The 7 scorching tigers all fell to his sword. Clang! Duanling Tian heaved a sigh of relief as he sheathed the violet myrtle flexible sword in his hand. Duanling Tian's gaze flickered, and then the violet myrtle flexible sword was once again drawn. He forcefully tore off the skin and fur of the scorching tigers, as well as some of their body parts, and then stored them all inside his spatial ring. Presently, the spatial ring on Duanling Tian's hand was the spatial ring that the Boundless Sect's young sect leader had left behind. This spatial ring was much better than the spatial ring he obtained from the Aqua Mist City's He Clan's supreme elder, He Zhu Dao, as its space was a few times larger. It was a spatial ring that was a grade 6 spirit weapon. As for He Zhu Dao's spatial ring, he had left it to Ku Air. After all, during the time he left, Ku Air would need to replace him and continue the 6 treasures body tempering liquid collaboration with Tang Yin, and thus it would be more convenient for her to put away the silver if she had a spatial ring. Humph! Consider yourselves unlucky. Duanling Tian took one last look at the badly mutilated bodies of the 7 scorching tigers before preparing to return. Spatial ring. Just at this moment, a voice abruptly sounded. Duanling Tian's expression instantly distorted. Whoosh! A figure flew out from the other side of a nearby hill and descended in front of Duanling Tian. It's him. Duanling Tian's expression sunk. The person who was currently standing in front of him was none other than one of the 2 centurions that spoke for Yu Xiang after he had lost the gamble yesterday. But why would he be here? At this moment, the centurion's eyes flickered with a greedy brilliance, causing Duanling Tian to feel that this turn of events was far from good. Centurion, sir, why are you here? Duanling Tian's expression remained unchanged as he coolly asked. What do you think? The centurion's gaze was slightly cold as he replied rhetorically. Could it be that those 7 scorching tigers were drawn here by Centurion? Duanling Tian's pupils constricted. Normally, it was impossible for fierce beasts at or above the 4th level of the core formation stage to appear in the area he was currently in. Even if one really did appear, it would at most be 1 or 2 fierce beasts. But earlier, there were 7 scorching tigers at the 4th level of the core formation stage, and they appeared together. Combined with the Centurion's timely appearance, it was extremely difficult for him not to link the 2 matters together. You're very intelligent. The Centurion looked at Duanling Tian. I originally thought that the 7 scorching tigers would be enough to tear you to shreds, but I never expected that you had actually concealed your strength during the Genius Camp test. You're actually a 5th level core formation martial artist. 5th level core formation martial artist. It wasn't anything noteworthy. But if you added on the fact that the person with this cultivation level was a youth that wasn't even 17 yet, then it would be terrifying. A 5th level core formation martial artist that wasn't even 17 yet. There hadn't been an appearance of such a monster across the Crimson Sky Kingdom's hundreds of years of history. Centurion, sir, I don't think there are any grievances between us, but I wonder why you want to cause harm to me? Duanling Tian inhaled a deep breath and his eyes flickered. Although he already had a guess in his heart, he still wanted to confirm it. Haha, Duanling Tian, if you want to blame something, then blame yourself for failing to show restraint. If it wasn't for you casing Yu Hong to lose his position as Centurion, Yu Hong wouldn't have targeted you, and he wouldn't have entrusted me with taking care of you during the Genius Camp training. As far as the Centurion was concerned, Duanling Tian was already a dead man, and as such he didn't hesitate in the slightest. Yu Hong. Duanling Tian's eyes turned cold. So it really was him. Yu Xiang's elder brother, Yu Hong. Needless to say, your natural talent really shocked me. Maybe if you're given another 2 years, even I won't be a match for you. But unfortunately, you're going to lose your life here today. The Centurion's eyes flashed with killing intent. Origin energy suffused between his hands, and then 11 ancient mammoths' silhouettes condensed into form above him, their imposing manner piercing through the sky. This Centurion was an 8th level core formation martial artist. Wait. Duanling Tian's gaze flickered as he shouted in a low voice. What? You have some dying words? The Centurion asked indifferently. If you let me go, I'll give you 1 million silver. How about it? Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed as he slowly asked. 1 million silver? Needless to say, that's really enticing. However, if I'm not wrong, the 1 million silver you spoke of is kept inside your spatial ring, right? As long as I kill you, everything inside your spatial ring will be mine, including that silver. A smile appeared on the face of the Centurion. It was as if Duanling Tian's spatial ring was already inside his pocket. I originally was only doing Yu Hong a favor by driving those 7 scorching tigers over here to let them kill you. But never would I have expected that you actually concealed your strength and would be able to deal with all 7 of the scorching tigers. And what is even more unexpected was that you actually possess a valuable item like a spatial ring. As he finished speaking, the Centurion's face was covered with killing intent. As far as he was concerned, as long as he killed Duanling Tian, everything Duanling Tian owned would be his. So you got greedy, right? Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed as he asked in an indifferent manner. So what? The Centurion sneered. I don't feel like wasting my breath on you anymore. I'll kill you right now and take your spatial ring. Are you so confident that you can kill me? Duanling Tian started laughing. Hearing what he said, the Centurion's heart jerked and he started inspecting the surroundings. When he noticed that there wasn't anything amiss, he sneered and said, Duanling Tian, cut the crap. You will undoubtedly die today, unless you have a strength that surpasses mine, that is. However, that's impossible. The Centurion moved the second he finished speaking. Whoosh! His figure dragged out a string of after images as it flew out and flashed straight towards Duanling Tian. Above him, 11 ancient mammoth silhouettes dashed like the wind. Duanling Tian's eyes went cold as he moved to intercept. Spirit Serpent movement technique. His body moved as if it had transformed into a nimble and agile spirit serpent. Sword drawing arts. The violet sword light was like a poisonous snake's tongue as it flashed towards the Centurion that was menacingly approaching. Instantly, 8 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above Duanling Tian. You actually still concealed some strength? The Centurion's figure jerked, and he easily avoided Duanling Tian's sword strike before flashing to a side and staring at Duanling Tian in disbelief. The strength of 8 ancient mammoths. This was the symbol of a 6th level core formation martial artist. Something was not right. Before long, his gaze fell upon the violet myrtle flexible sword in Duanling Tian's hand, and he exclaimed, Spirit weapon. You actually have a spirit weapon? It's able to give you an extra 1 mammoth worth of strengths, meaning it should be a grade 8 spirit weapon, right? The greedy brilliance in the centurion's eyes grew brighter and brighter. He didn't expect that Duan Ling Tian would give him so many pleasant surprises. First it was the spatial ring, now it was the grade 8 spirit weapon. If he could obtain the grade 8 spirit weapon, even a 9th level core formation martial artist wouldn't be his match. This Duan Ling Tian was virtually a treasure trove. Your gaze isn't bad. Duan Ling Tian sneered. Duan Ling Tian, your strength is comparable to a 6th level core formation martial artist by relying on that spirit weapon, but in front of me, it isn't enough. Die. The centurion's body jerked before he started moving once more. He wanted to kill Duan Ling Tian and seize everything Duan Ling Tian had. Bang! The centurion attacked with the speed of lightning as he slapped out a palm strike towards Duan Ling Tian. The gusts of wind from the palm strike caused Duan Ling Tian's violet clothes to flutter. Really? A cold light flashed within Duan Ling Tian's eyes. In the blink of an eye, his origin energy poured into the blade of the violet myrtle flexible sword, activating the blood crescent inscription within. OM. A crimson-red crescent accompanied Duan Ling Tian's violet myrtle flexible sword as it flashed out with a speed like lightning. It seemed as if it had eyes, accurately intercepting the centurion's palm strike. Chi. Fresh blood splattered all across the air as the centurion's palm was sliced in half by the crescent. Ah! The centurion's shrill and sad cry sounded before abruptly ceasing in the blink of an eye. It stopped because after the crescent cut his hand in half, its momentum didn't slow down a shred as it directly penetrated his chest. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. Duan Ling Tian's body flashed by as he dodged the centurion's body, which was flying over from inertia. The centurion's eyes were wide open as he flew along with the force of momentum, and his eyes flickered with a luster of disbelief. Maybe, even until death, he never thought that Duan Ling Tian would actually still have such a terrifying move. Bang! Blood poured all over as the centurion's corpse fell to the ground. Humph! I was kind enough to give you 1 million silver, but you didn't want it. You really think I'm afraid of you? If it wasn't for me not wanting to waste a blood crescent inscription, I wouldn't have wasted my breath on you. Duan Ling Tian coldly swept the centurion's corpse with his gaze before searching his body, only to find a few thousand silver. What a pauper! Duan Ling Tian mocked before placing the silver in his spatial ring. A wisp of pill fire ignited on his palm before he tossed it onto the centurion's corpse. Sizzle! The centurion's corpse was burnt to ashes in the blink of an eye. Not even tiny bits remained. There are only enough materials in my spatial ring to inscribe 2 more blood crescent inscriptions. I didn't think that a lousy centurion would waste one of my blood crescent inscriptions. Duan Ling Tian slightly frowned. Recalling what happened earlier caused him to feel annoyed. He thought about it like this. The materials to inscribe the blood crescent inscription were worth at least 500,000 silver, but he only obtained a few thousand silver from killing that centurion. This was undoubtedly a transaction that was done at a loss. With his current circumstances, even if he had gained more silver, it would still be extremely difficult to obtain the materials needed to inscribe the blood crescent inscription. At present, he only had a limited amount of blood crescent inscriptions. This was also the reason why he would rather give the centurion 1 million silver than wasting a blood crescent inscription on him. Never mind, I'll just let nature take its course. I'll inscribe another blood crescent inscription on my violet myrtle flexible sword before I return. What's done is done, so Duan Ling Tian didn't continue thinking about it. Duan Ling Tian walked forward a short distance and found a secluded area before sitting down cross-legged. He then withdrew some materials and started inscribing the blood crescent inscription as the sun set in the west and dusk enveloped the land. In the resting area of the Genius Camp's Squad 3. Why hasn't Duan Ling Tian returned yet? After waiting half a day with no news, Xiao Yu's expressions was slightly ugly. Yeah, it's been so long. Logically speaking, he should have already drawn those scorching tigers away and returned by now. Mengquan frowned and was extremely puzzled. Nothing would have happened to him, right? Luo Cheng had a worried expression. Don't be a jinx. Mengquan and Xiao Yu both glared at Luo Cheng. However, their eyes still had worry within them. If anything were to happen to Duanling Tian, they wouldn't be able to forgive themselves. After all, Duanling Tian did it all just to save them. If they weren't there, with Duanling Tian's strength, wanting to escape from those 7 scorching tigers wasn't a difficult matter. Before long, the other members of Squad 3 had returned. With 15 youths joining hands, they managed to hunt a sufficient amount of cloud leopards to pass their mission after sweeping through the mountain range for the entire day. Is everyone here? Fanjian's expression was cold as ice. Where's Duanling Tian? Fanjian's gaze swept past the 18 people present before finally fixing his gaze on Mengquan, Xiao Yu, and Luo Cheng. Instructor, we encountered 7 scorching tigers while hunting cloud leopards with Duanling Tian. He asked us to bring the cloud leopards back first while he drew away those 7 scorching tigers, Luo Cheng slowly said. Scorching tigers? Fanjian's pupils constricted. You all are really too brave, actually daring to go so deep into the Dawnshroud mountain range. We didn't enter deep into the mountain range. We were only going around the area that the fierce beasts at the 3rd level of the core formation stage roamed. Who knew that 7 scorching tigers would abruptly appear? Xiao Yu frowned. Impossible, Fanjian said with certainty. The scorching tigers have a very strong sense of territory and would not easily leave it. Maybe someone disturbed the scorching tigers. Mengquan's expression was unsightly as he voiced his guess. Enough. Since Duanling Tian's cloud leopard is here, it's considered as having completed the mission. Tonight, these cloud leopards will be your food. After giving out his orders, Fanjian sat it aside and roasted his own prey. Xiao Yu, Mengquan, and Luo Cheng hadn't eaten the entire day and had long since been hungry, but at this moment, they didn't move a muscle because they didn't have the appetite. In their hearts, all they could think about was Duanling Tian's safety. Not far away, the youths of Squad 3 gathered around as they bore wood for fire. If it wasn't for Duanling Tian, we would probably only have raw meat to eat. Unfortunately, I'm afraid the odds are against him this time. Scorching tigers are 4th level core formation stage fierce beasts, so any one of them had strength that wasn't inferior to Duanling Tian. Some of the youths didn't regard Duanling Tian as being able to return. They all believed that Duanling Tian was killed by the scorching tigers. You're all using the method of starting fire that Duanling Tian taught you, yet you're cursing him behind his back. Aren't you all afraid of being struck by lightning? Hearing the discussions of the group of youths caused Mengquan's expression to sink, and he reprimanded them. We're just speaking of the truth. What are you getting so agitated for? Since you're so agitated, why did you abandon Duanling Tian and flee by yourself earlier today? P*******y. One of the youths sneered. What did you say? Mengquan's eyes were bloodshot as he abruptly stood up and was about to go teach the youth a lesson. Just at this moment, Mengquan, what are you doing? So agitated. The first thing Duanling Tian saw when he returned was the scene of Mengquan getting angry for him. A warm feeling ran through his heart when he saw this. Duanling Tian, you're back. Luo Cheng had an excited expression. What could it be that you were hoping I'd be eaten by those scorching tigers? Duanling Tian joked. Of course not. Luo Cheng hurriedly shook his head. As long as you're back. Xiao Yu heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing Duanling Tian's return. Luo Cheng, go get some dried wood. Xiao Yu, come help me clean up these cloud leopards. Duanling Tian, you've been occupied the entire day, so rest more and just wait for food. Mengquan divided the work. Then I'll properly enjoy this special treatment. Duanling Tian laughed. As it so happened, Duanling Tian was exhausted from the spiritual force he expended to inscribe the blood crescent inscription. Now he could finally rest. With Xiao Yu and the others bustling about working together, a campfire was quickly set ablaze and the fragrance of meat suffused the air. Mengquan roasted the meat as he asked, Duanling Tian, were those scorching tigers really hard to deal with? To think that they actually chased you around the entire afternoon and exhausted you to such a state. Xiao Yu and Luo Cheng looked over at Duan Ling Tian with curious expressions as well. Duan Ling Tian lied on the floor and comfortably shut his eyes before crossing his legs and speaking. Don't remind me. I drew those scorching tigers away not long after the three of you left, and it so happened to be my unlucky day. The direction I drew those scorching tigers away to was precisely even deeper into the Dawnshroud mountain range, and as a result, I was chased by a spiked mink the entire afternoon. I nearly wasn't able to return. He naturally wouldn't speak of the truth, and thus casually made up an excuse. Spiked mink? Xiao Yu's and the others' expressions were all slightly pale. The group of youths nearby went pale-faced as well. Even the instructor of Squad 3, Fanjian, couldn't help himself from being moved. The spiked monk was a 5th-level core formation stage fierce beast, and it was advantaged due to its small size, making it one of the top fierce beasts in the 5th level of the core formation stage, especially since the speed of a spiked mink was swift like a bolt of lightning, even to the extent of being comparable to a 5th-level core formation martial artist who had cultivated a high-grade profound rank movement technique to the perfection stage. You actually were able to flee from a spiked mink? Meng Quan fiercely swallowed his saliva. Including instructor Fanjian, every one of the other 15 youths present pricked up their ears and listened attentively. Obviously, they all wanted to know how Duan Ling Tian fled from a spiked mink. As far as they were concerned, this was truly an unbelievable feat. Wasn't Duan Ling Tian a 4th-level core formation martial artist? My luck was good. That spiked mink's leg was injured, so its speed was only comparable to mine. If it wasn't for that, my life would probably have been thrown away in the Dawnshroud mountain range, Duan Ling Tian said, with an expression that seemed to show he had a lingering fear. That really is good luck. Xiao Yu's group of 3 heaved a sigh of relief. They were happy for Duan Ling Tian. So that's what happened. Hearing his story allowed the Squad 3 youths to finally understand clearly. Like this, everything could be explained. Compared to the tranquility of Squad 3, Squad 1 was in chaos. Why? The instructor of Squad 1 had disappeared into thin air. Where's the instructor? The group of youths looked at each other. Could it be part of the training as well? Some people guessed. Suli, what do you think? Some of the youths looked towards the red-robed youth that stood to the side. Su Li's expression was cold as he embraced his sheathed sword. When he heard what the group of youths asked, he coldly shook his head. I don't know. Looks like this is one of the genius camp training routines. The instructor's sudden disappearance means that our training has officially started. A green-clothed youth complacently perked his head up. He had an expression that said, I've guessed it long ago. Why do you say so? The other youths were puzzled. Don't you get it? The instructor didn't go missing. He is purposefully concealing himself. He's purposefully leaving us by ourselves to see if we can live alone in the wild. The green-clothed youth spoke with logic as if it were true. Che, this is just your guess. Some of the youths disregarded his guess. The green-clothed youth grunted and retorted, Humph. What? Don't agree. Could it be that you thought that someone as strong as our instructor would go missing in this area of the Dawnshroud mountain range? It's impossible for the instructor to go missing. Just at this moment, Suli spoke. The Centurions of the Iron Blood Army are all martial artists of at least the 8th level of the core formation stage. Did you hear what Suli said? If we didn't go missing, how could an 8th level core formation martial artist go missing? What a joke. The green-clothed youth laughed complacently. Looks like the instructor leaving could really be the content of the next part of our training. I hope he returns soon. I feel nervous when the instructor isn't here, one of the youths said, with a slightly fearful expression. While the members of Squad 1 were terrified, Duan Ling Tian was gulping down big chunks of meat. He had completely tossed aside the fact that he had killed the instructor of Squad 1. In the following 2 months, the group of youths in Squad 3 would need to face waves of fierce beasts every night, and in the day, they would go into the mountain range to complete their missions. Time passed by in the blink of an eye. There were only 3 days remaining in the entire 3-month training. Currently, including Duan Ling Tian's group of 4, there were only 11 people remaining in Squad 3. Only one more person needed to be eliminated. Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 got along with each other the same as always. The other 7 youths, however, even though they still cooperated with each other, they had already started to be suspicious of each other. They all knew that the person who was going to be eliminated next would most certainly be one of them. It's probably going to turn into a dog-eat-dog situation. Meng Quan glanced at the nearby 7 youths and laughed. Meng Quan, you sound like you're slightly taking pleasure in their misfortune. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and laughed. Of course, once they eliminate one of the people among them, we can finally leave this damned place, Meng Quan said, in a matter-of-fact way. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian's expression turned grim. His extremely strong soul seemed to have vaguely perceived something. Xiao Yu frowned as well. His intuition perceived danger. What's wrong? Luo Cheng and Meng Quan looked questioningly at Duan Ling Tian. Bang! Bang! Duan Ling Tian didn't even have the chance to speak, because in the next moment, the ground started shaking. The quaking of the ground was accompanied by strange beast roars which echoed out from deep within the Dawn Shroud mountain range. Before long, a group of fierce beasts appeared before everyone's eyes. Not good, it's a beast tide. Fan Jian's expression distorted. Then his body flashed out, transforming into a gust of wind that rushed out of the Dawn Shroud mountain range. As he did so, he roared, "Flee!" Even the instructor had fled, and thus Duan Ling Tian and the other youths naturally wouldn't dally. Let's go. Duan Ling Tian's expression focused. Then his origin energy exploded forth and his legs moved like the wind. Spirit Serpent movement technique. Duan Ling Tian took the lead and followed behind Fan Jian. However, Fan Jian dashed at full speed and quickly left Duan Ling Tian far behind. Xiao Yu, Meng Quan, and Luo Cheng followed closely behind Duan Ling Tian and fled out of the Dawn Shroud mountain range while in an alarmed state. They weren't hurt. Huff huff huff. Besides Duan Ling Tian, who was still tranquil, and Xiao Yu, whose breathing was slightly hurried, Meng Quan and Luo Cheng both bent down as they fiercely and heavily breathed. Luckily, I broke through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage half a month ago. If I hadn't, I might not have been able to keep my life. Recalling the scene from before, Meng Quan had a lingering fear. Meanwhile, another 4 youths from Squad 3 arrived. The 4 youths all had a similar trait. They were all 3rd-level core formation martial artists. As for the other 3 youths, they were only 2nd-level core formation martial artists, and they would remain inside the Dawn Shroud mountain range forever. Only 8 youths remained from the final 11 youths in Squad 3. If we were any slower, we would all have to remain there forever. Supposedly, in these beast tides, the fierce beasts that lead the charge are of comparatively lower strength, whereas all the formidable fierce beasts follow behind. Therefore, there is no lack of origin core stage existences among them. Xiao Yu had a fearful expression. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Just at this moment, many figures dashed out of the Dawn Shroud mountain range. The 3 people in the lead were precisely the other 3 centurions, and a group of youths in a sorry state followed behind them. Yu Xiang and Tian, who were both among the group of youths. There weren't many youths remaining in Squad 2, Squad 4, and Squad 5. Every squad only had less than 10 members that survived. Squad 5 was the worst off, as only 4 members remained. Where's Squad 1? After the 4 centurions gathered together, they noticed that there wasn't any movement from within the Dawn Shroud mountain range for a period of time. They looked at each other questioningly. Squad 1. Duan Ling Tian had a strange expression. The entire Squad 1 couldn't have remained within the Dawn Shroud mountain range, right? Didn't their instructor go missing 3 months ago? In the Dawn Shroud mountain range, at the resting area of Squad 1. Facing the beast tide that was menacingly approaching. Not good, it's a beast tide. The expression of the group of youths all distorted. The end of the first round of the training will end in 3 days, but having a beast tide at this time is slightly weird. Could it be that the instructor that concealed himself for 3 months drew the beast tide over and wants us to eliminate 3 people from our remaining group of 13? Probably. Then should we flee or not? Since it's a beast tide drawn over by the instructor, It shouldn't have any formidable, fierce beasts. We can just kill them all? Yeah, if we flee, then we probably will be eliminated. Charge. The group of youths from Squad 1 were filled with bravery as they charged towards the beast tide that approached menacingly, and a battle unfolded. Su Li entered the fray as well, killing a fierce beast with each sword strike, extremely easily. Roar. Suddenly, a strange beast roar entered Su Li's ears, causing his expression to instantly turn extremely grim. Whoosh. Su Li didn't dare hesitate as his body jerked before flashing towards the outside of the Dawn Shroud mountain range. At the same time, he caught his breath and warned, "Hurry up and flee." It's a 7th level core formation stage Thunder Lion.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.